Hey, what's up, guys? It's Tips, and I'm back with another Classic WoW PvP deep dive. This time with the one, the only, the Dark Knight, Brucewayner himself. Guys, if you do not know who Bruce is, he is a phenomenal multi-time rank 1 hunter and a spectacular Classic WoW PvPer. He has joined us in the Classic Duelers League and has done a phenomenal job playing that class. Bruce is great, guys. He's super great and he's very, very informative. If you have any questions pertaining to the hunter class, he is the guy to ask. He will answer it succinctly, precisely, and he will help you become a better hunter player for sure. He's also one of the best hunter parsers on Ferlina, so he's great in PvE as well. Just an all-around great, well-rounded player. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video, guys. In case you were wondering or in case you were confused, these were filmed last week, so there's a little bit of incontinuity there. We talk about the CDL being next weekend and stuff. That happened last weekend, so apologize for that. Wasn't able to get these up in time, but I hope you enjoy this nonetheless. And as always, links to Bruce's Twitch channel and Discord are in the description below. But without further ado, guys, the Dark Knight. Welcome, guys. Welcome to our first ever recorded Classic WoW PvP deep dive. I'm your host, Tips Out Baby, and sitting across from me, God knows where, is the beautiful, God knows where, in Gotham City, of course, the beautiful Bruce Wayne. Bruce, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. How you doing?
Good, good. Very grateful that you're able to take your time off fighting the filth of Gotham City to join us here today. Guys, if you don't know who Bruce Wayne is, he is a very decorated World of Warcraft PvPer and Classic WoW duelist. He is currently the #2 ranked hunter in the Classic Duelers League. He is a multi-time rank 1, unironically, rank 1 in Season 7 and Season 10. Two very competitive seasons of World of Warcraft. In his free time, he is also a billionaire, playboy, and he's a fan of black tights and bats.
Thank you, dude. I really put a little bit of time and effort into it, and I'm glad it's paying off for me. I'm just a cool guy here to game. You feel?
No, I feel you. I feel you for sure. Very, very cool guy. So cool, as a matter of fact, that he streams on Twitch. And if you guys want to check him out, his Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Brucewayner with an R at the end. Links are in the description below. This guy is a phenomenal hunter, memes aside. One of the best hunters I've ever seen in World of Warcraft, period. And he's
Oh,
absolutely stellar, dude. Just take it, dude. Just take it,
oh
man.
my god. Thank you.
All right, no pressure or anything the rest of this deep dive.
No pressure. No, yeah.
But yeah, guys, Bruce is scheduled to play in the CDL Championships on January 11th and January 12th, which will be streamed both on my channel and his channel. If you guys want to check him out there, throw him a follow, support him. He's a smaller streamer, guys, but the guy knows how to play. And his bracket will be drawn on January 8th, which, depending on when you watch this video, is just a couple of days from now. Tune in live at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I believe 6 p.m. British time, 7 p.m. European time. Sorry for the EUs if that's a little bit off. But let's take all that aside. That was just the freaking shameless plugs off the bat. It's time to dive deep into the hunter class. Bruce,
Yes.
you've been playing Classic WoW, obviously, for these past 4 months. You've been doing very well in the CDL. You've got Classic WoW experience from back in the day, too. And
I
you,
do.
you're just an amazing PvPer, man. I don't know which other way to put it.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of people out there that currently play the hunter class or want to play the hunter class, and they're trying to get their feet wet with PvP. There's a lot of PvE content out there, not so much PvP content. So I figured we'd start from the basics, the talents, and then we'd just go deeper and deeper into like pet selection, macros, etc. Are you ready to help us out with that?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. So I've got the Classic WoW Hunter Talent Calculator in front of me right now. For
I do as well.
PvP purposes, how are we doing this?
I think the best way to explain hunter PvP is talk about like the different. I don't want to say the different types, but dueling, and then world PvP, and then like coordinated PvP is like BGs or like world PvP in a group, stuff like that. Because you definitely bring different things to the table in each, and there's completely different pacing when you consider a duel environment versus like 10v10 team fights in Warsong or Arathi. So I don't know if you want to. Is that okay? Do you want to talk about like dueling first, and then do you want to just go by like Mark's specializations first, something like that? So I guess like we can talk about like Mark's survival. Like that's like one of my favorites. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want to do? Okay.
Let's go for it. I like the way you've broken it down too by scenario. I think that's really helpful. So if you want to do
Yeah.
like by dueling, by world PvP, then by, whatever, war song, whatever you want to do, I'm down to do all of that.
Okay. I guess we can go with like the one I've been sticking with. So uh, my focus so far in like classic has definitely been the duel tournament, and I've been like creating specs just for that specifically, and I haven't really been respecing because of the whole MMO deal and like 50G respecs. So there's literally, I guess to start off, there's one talent which I don't know if many people will guess that I um, think is actually the most important in duels specifically, and it's trap mastery. Um, I know that there's a lot of specs for hunters. You can go BM, you can go scatter intimidation and all these things. But the moment I am no longer able to put 1 point in trap mastery, I lose all my confidence in multiple matchups, namely Shadow Priest, Resto Druid, Warriors, just a lot of things. Because what happens is when you don't have 1 point in trap mastery, um, you every single time you drop a freezing trap, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to resist? Is it game over? Because with hunters, the name of the game is literally survive cooldowns, survive the damage, get a trap, which is a reset, and what happens for hunters is when you have someone trapped, you're going to drop combat, especially if you get a clean trap off where you actually FD trap in their face and you don't get pulled back into combat by like a melee attack or something like that. And what happens is the moment you get a trap, you start looking for the server ticks where you can eat and drink. And Zico is actually one of the first people to show us, and like was it the beta duel tournament, or do you remember, Tips?
I think he showed it off in the beta duel tournament, yeah.
Okay, so what he did was, yeah, he polyed someone, and then he actually got distance by walking, and he would eat and drink, and he would find the server, because the way food and drink works is it doesn't matter. Um, you don't have to sit down for 1.5 seconds eating and drinking to actually get your first regen tick. There's actually literally a server tick, just like a rogue's energy tick, where the server decides, okay, if someone's eating and drinking at this specific time, we're going to grant them health and mana. So you find that first tick, and then you literally just walk away for 1.5 seconds, sit down again, eat, drink, and that is how you regen. And so what this means for a hunter is the longer you are able to prolong a fight, the more stamina you gain. It is that simple. Eating and drinking as a hunter is stamina. Survival is the name of the game. So with that in mind, it means trap mastery, I feel personally, is like a must. And so with that, I built like pretty much like the cookie cutter marks specialization, and then I went into the duel tournament deciding how I wanted to create my survival spec, and I built my way down to trap mastery, and then obviously sure-footed, which gives me 15% chance to resist like any sort of slow or snare. So with those two things in mind, I was able to just kind of build a spec that suited like the path I knew I was going to go down and in my duels and stuff. And that's kind of like the core, honestly. Whereas a lot of people would decide like, like, yeah, scatter shot is huge, obviously. Um, you decide if you want true shot aura and things like that. And I decided for me personally, it's yeah, trap mastery and then sure-footed. So when I went into the duel tournament, I think I went in as it was either I think it was 0-20. I was actually 0-30-21. So I had no points in beast mastery. I went deep into marksmanship. The only thing I didn't take in marksmanship was true shot aura. I actually took ranged weapon specialization, 5 points in that. And I actually regretted it. I wish I took those 5 points out of ranged weapon specialization and put them in survivalist, which is the third tier of the hunter tree of the survival tree, and it gives you 10% more health, calculated after all other health bonuses. So if you have 4,800 health and you take survivalist, now you're gonna add 480 HP on top of that. It's a really big deal because that 480 HP a lot of the time is the overkill in a duel. A lot of times it's a lot less. And if you were able to survive for an extra attack or two, there's a very good chance that your FD trap comes back up. And if that comes back up, like I said, you're going to be eating and drinking again. So it's a really, really big deal. if you can make a specialization where you base your duels around that simple fact, just or like idea, which is survive, reset, recover. I think you're gonna see yourself as a hunter like just kind of, uh, you're just gonna take control of fights that you would otherwise just get stomped in. And because of that, I think that's like a huge reason I was able to um, win. I ended up winning fights that I originally thought were unwinnable. It's funny that like it's literally called survivalist, like the talent tree, because it
Yeah.
really is. It just makes you beefy. It's actually crazy.
No,
Uh, the
yeah.
thing the thing that Zico found, the eating drinking on ticks, or maybe someone else found it, but the thing that he showed really like changed the pacing of dueling for hunters. Do you want me to talk about like smaller things,
I'm
like?
no, that's great. I mean, we can keep going. Do you mind actually if we just list out the talents from start to finish real quick?
Sure, sure.
So like starting the
So,
marksman tree, do we go improve
yep,
concussive shot?
yes, we do. We go 5 improved concussive, um, and then right after that. So like the thing about concussive stun is, I mean, you can literally stop a warrior on their charge and deny a hamstring if it procs. Uh, when you concuss a shot, like the only time it's extremely useful outside of kiting is like um helping your teammates in like a group environment, like in Warsong or something, catch up to somebody. Like you can obviously conk shot a druid that's flag carrying, but he's just going to shift it. But when you're using it on other classes, a lot of the time it's to help your teammates get to the enemy. You have cheetah already. A lot of the time, speed or like closing a gap isn't too much of an issue. It'll keep a mage off of you for a little bit, but if a mage is good, they're gonna know when to blink. They're gonna find a way to get on top of you. But when you have concussive stun, it obviously adds the RNG factor, and just you can literally RNG someone down now. It becomes a really good tool to get in like extra multis, to have like perfect spacing between people. It can deny charges. It can stop rogues. There's just a ton of utility when you just randomly get a conk stun that just makes it much better than efficiency. I think if you signed up for World of Warcraft, you're playing World of Consumable Craft. If you really think that efficiency is better, like I'm sorry, but like mana pots exist, Night Dragon exists, like Dark and Demonic Runes exist. Um, you should always have an answer for your mana pool, I think. Um, and because of that, like yeah, Kongshan I think is definitely the first thing you pick in the first tier. After that, between Hunter's Mark and Lethal Shots, I think you definitely take Lethal Shots. What happens is globals are really precious in Classic, I think. On retail, you have like a 1.2, like usually like a 1 second global, or it's modified by haste. But here you're stuck with a 1.5. And what that means is, yes, the game feels a little slower. Like you're pressing less buttons, your APM is lower, but you also have to put more thought into your globals. And what that means is, oftentimes there's just no good time to use Hunter's Mark. Um, you can use Hunter's Mark to like mark a druid, to mark a rogue. A rogue will vanish it. If you're marking a flag carrier in Warsong, you better hope that druid's away from a dispeller, because a good team will definitely clear that Hunter's Mark, so the druid can safely get to the flag carrier. But because it's it's just not like a super precious global, there's really no point in taking points in improved Hunter's Mark. Meanwhile, 5% crit chance on your ranged attacks is just like absolutely insane. Hunters like do possess the ability to just completely like delete somebody, especially with like the Zerking buff. And when we get like even now, Hunters are really strong, but when we get Ashrathal, like I haven't seen it because I didn't really play private servers, but from what I understand, you can just completely global people. Um, so that 5% crit actually is insane. So after taking 5 in lethal shots and 5 in conk, you get into tier 3. Uh, the thing is, there's just it's really really obvious, I think, from here. Or I don't really think there's like much room for arguing this. 6 extra yards of range is massive. Being able to conk shot a mage from 41 instead of 36 before they blink on you and try and nova on top of you is massive. It gives you more leeway with warriors once you trap them. Once you get to 41, I mean, it pretty much gives you an extra like half second to a second against rocket boots, stuff like that. It just buys you time. And the name of the game for Hunter is just like playing slowly, keeping your distance. You want to be as toxic as possible. You want people to be annoyed while they're playing against you. Like that's what Hunter's great at. Because the moment you're sitting at 40 yards and you're getting conk shot and stunned and viper stung, like you want to smash your hand on your keyboard. And when that happens against a Hunter, they're probably a good Hunter. They understand how to play their class. You just want to be toxic, and the way you do that is by taking those 3 points in Hawkeye. Um, Aim shot is massive. It's also in the third tree. It only requires 1 point. Um, that's your burst. So that's your burst off of CC, off of roots, and the opening of team fights. That's how you delete people is with aim shot. So you take that. After that, now you're looking pretty much to get into the fourth tier, and so you're just looking to put 1 point somewhere. And what you do is, considering the fact that arcane shot just really isn't precious, you're not using it too much. You do use it, but it's not something that's worth. You don't put a point into improved arcane shot. So what you go for, where if you go from here is you do take a point in efficiency. A little bit of like having a little bit more mana can go a long way in like long drawn out team fights. There are times when you don't want to use a mana potion, you want to use like a FAP or a lip or something like that, so your mana potion's on cooldown. Maybe you whippered. So efficiency is I think is the best thing to talent into here. Where does that put us? That puts us at 15.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. And so from here we get to go to mortal shots. 10% damage on Serpent Sting is just something there's just not really a good argument for it. It brings your damage from 490 to like 540. 5 points is just not worth it. Whereas 30% crit damage bonus on ranged attacks, it's just too good. Really, like what you're doing here is you're just going the cookie cutter marks build. You grab scatter. Scatter is huge. Apparently on private servers, actually, scatter and trap didn't DR. So I remember when the beta came out, all the hunters, we thought that it was a bug that scatter and trap were DRing each other, and I guess it just wasn't. That's the way the game is played, and it definitely changed like our strategies and duels and stuff. Regardless, scatter is great. It can be used as an interrupt. It can be used just to keep yourself alive. You can use it on warriors before you blow them up in Warsong. Like, and you can use it on someone. Like, you can literally scatter aimed. Like, it's just a really good combo. Even against another hunter, you can scatter aimed, and a lot of the time they won't. Once they come out of that scatter, like they still won't be able to feign death in time. That aim shot will go off. Sometimes they can. It's a risk that sometimes it's just worth taking. But yeah, scatter is huge as a 4-second disorient. It really is. And then where I stopped for the duel tournament, so I put my 1 point in scatter. I put my 3 in barrage. I think at that point I'm at. Let me do this. Where am I at?
You're at
I'm at
24?
24.
Yeah.
Okay. I put 1 more point in efficiency, just to get to the next tier, and then I finished with 5 points in ranged weapon specialization. I did not take True Shot Aura. So that is where I did the last phase of the duel tournament. I was 30 into marks. The reason I didn't take True Shot was because, like I said, I felt that surviving was the name of the game, and I really wanted counterattack to do that, to achieve that. So from here, I went into survival, and I took 3 points into humanoid slaying. I took 2 in parry. I think I took. I did. I took 5 in entrapment.
If you
Oh
don't mind
man.
just talking about entrapment here real quick.
Sure.
So it gives your immolation trap, frost trap, and explosive trap a 25% chance to entrap the target, preventing them from moving for 5 seconds. Do you know how this works exactly, how this ticks? Like if I'm just standing there, is it like is it like per second, and it could put proc every second, or is it when I move? Like, how does this work exactly?
It's definitely a server tick thing. So I remember on the beta, Perplexity actually like showed the first video of it. I remember he was the one that was doing like a ton of testing while like we were all just gaming. and Perp was like, I don't know if you remember this. It was like he was like running through a blizzard, like a mage blizzard, and the blizzard didn't actually slow him until he was like more than halfway through the AOE. And what everybody realized was like there's like we were calling it batching, but it's just like there's just checks. So like every like on this certain server tick, it checks if you're within that blizzard AOE, and if you are, now it will start slowing you. But that check happens like every 1.5. I don't know if it's 2.5, 3 seconds, but you can run over a frost trap and you can get like a little bit of distance before it starts proccing. Um, once the debuff on frost trap is applied to you, uh, that's when like you can start getting rooted. Um, from the moment a frost trap is procced, the first entrapment won't happen. It can't happen until 1.5 seconds after, I'm pretty. But after that, it's every 1.5 seconds there's a check, and you'll actually hear like you'll hear a sound animation, and you hear it like every 1.5 seconds, and every time that sound animation happens, it's like it's like rolling whether or not you're gonna get rooted in place right then and there.
Hmm.
And the roughest part about frost trap is you can sit and you can eat one entrapment, and I think it's it's a 5 second snare. While you're in that entrapment proc, it will continue to check for more and more. It'll continue to roll for more and more entrapment procs, and they don't DR with each other. You can sit there and you can like you can be entrapped for like 10 seconds, and I've seen it happen. And I've seen people like gnomes, they'll like escape artist and entrapment right into another one before they can even charge me or like intercept me or something like that. It's it's
God.
undoubtedly one of the strongest abilities in the game, or talents in the game. It's unreal. And because of it, I actually took this in the duel tournament. Yeah, um, against even Shadow Priest, which can dispel. They can dispel it off themselves. It's a magic effect. It's still just amazing. It's so good, because that 1.5 seconds where they're on global is one less Shadow Word Pain on you, or against a warrior, if you're able to get one. If you get a warrior in an entrapment, it's pretty much GG. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you have on you. Uh, you're just hard chilling. You get your distance. You can start pelting them, and dude, it's just not gonna break. It's just not gonna break. You can put so much damage into a entrapment, and it's just they're stuck. And chances are, once they get out of that entrapment, if they're in the middle of your frost trap, they're eating another one before they get to you. So it's just actually one of the best in the game. Entrapment is also buffed by using frost trap in like a small corridor, like in the entrance to BRM. Like
Hmm.
once you go in that gate, something like that, you can literally entrap an entire raid and have them all rooted. And if they don't fap before that first entrapment proc, they're going to sit that first root. They're going to need to get dispelled or something for their fap to even work. It's amazing, dude. We were ranking, so like last week it was like me and like 5 or 6 other people, and um, we wiped like a 25 people in a raid. There was like 6 of us. We were just spamming frost traps down the entire BRM corridor, and it was just nobody was fapping, and it was just proccing entrapment over and over and over, and we like 6v25. So that's the power of entrapment. Uh, it's like legitimately like a spammable frost nova from a mage, and it doesn't DR. It's wild. It's wild.
That's sick.
Um, yeah, I mean, you're trading your freezing your trap cooldown, so you're not getting a freezing trap because of this. But something I like to do is like pre-trap. I'll like drop a freezing trap and try and like bait a warrior to charge me, get him on top of that freezing trap that I had already dropped like 20 seconds ago, and now he's sitting there fully trapped. And guess what? My trap cooldown's back up. So now I drop a frost trap under him, get distance, and now I'm aim shotting him, and he's gonna be in like I'm gonna break that freezing trap, but he's now sitting in entrapment in the middle of my frost trap. It's just over for him. So
Got
that
you.
like
Yeah.
it's just a really strong talent. Um, in duels, taking it is there's an argument for it and against it. I might not be taking it for the next part of the duel tournament. I'm not sure, but it's an amazing talent. And if you're not doing a duel tournament, I don't. No question. You want 5 in this for sure.
For sure.
Um. So after that, we're
Impro-
looking at something like Savage Strikes. 20% increased crit chance on Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite. I mean, it's amazing. When you Raptor Strike crit a mage for a 1k right now, like in tier 1 gear, it feels really, really good. And to have that much more chance at doing so is huge. I mean, I crit Raptor Strikes, I think like 600 on Warriors. So like on plate, I'm still hitting them really hard, maybe like 650. Really, really good. I'm expecting to do it right now for Warsong, but I did not take it for the duel tournament. I actually wanted more points in improved wing clip just for the chance that I got a free trap off of it. Um, dude, tips. I actually messed up here. I don't remember my duel tournament spec. Do you have it?
I can bring it up here if you want me to bring it up.
Please.
It'll take me a minute or so to do,
Sorry,
but
dude.
no worries. In the meantime, though, do you do 5 out of 5 improve win clip?
Right now I'm 2.
Mhm.
What's happening here is I used it as like a filler talent to get to my 2 priority ones, which are again Trap Mastery, Sure-footed. Um, I prioritize a few things, and wing clip, improved wing clip is not one of them. I believe for the duel tournament, I think I had 2 points in it. Maybe, dude, it was either 2 or 4, 2, 3, or 4. It just depends. With just 1, you only have a 4% chance of proccing it. It's just not enough. Even 2 feels like it's not very much. It's almost a 10% chance. 1 in 10 wing clips will root the target for 5 seconds. It's just a lot of time when you put points in something, you want to take it to the point where it's now a reliable talent. I feel that with 2 points in improved wing clip, it just you can't count on it to proc. The thing is, when it does, it feels good, and you can now get a very easy trap. Um, the, Getting a trap without using scatter is just huge. Honestly, it's just huge, and sometimes an improved wing clip will get you exactly that. So that's why I still put points in it, even if it's not like a fully spec improved wing clip. Even if I do 2, 3, or 4, um, if I do see a proc, I will move back in and I will actually try an FD trap in their face because they can't move, they can't dodge it. If they're a hunter, the only way they're going to position their pet on top of them is by sending their pet to attack something across their body and position their pet that way. Nobody's going to do that. It's just not a thing. You don't have pet move 2 in classic. Um, Actually, against Snuts in one of the duels, I actually got an improved wing clip proc, even with I think 2 points in the talent, and I immediately walked back in and feign trapped in his face because as long as I'm positioned in front of him, he can't get away. He cannot move. He is stuck in place. And what that means is once he eats that trap, I will wing clip his Void Walker and I'll start walking away. And once I get drop combat, I will start doing the Zico play, which is eat, drink, find the first server tick, and now every 1.5 seconds, I'm moving, getting distance from the Void Walker, eating and drinking, while Snuts is now eating a 15-second trap instead of like a 7 or 8-second trap. So it's a very big deal when it does proc. The thing is, like I said, you can't play when you have 2 points in this expecting it to happen. Now, when you go 5 out of 5, it's an entirely different story. I think I remember when I was doing bio the first time in like the qualifiers, I had 4 out of 5 points into it, and I'm pretty sure one of my very first wing clips procced,
Yeah,
and I just feigned in his face, got a full trap, and it was just over. When you get a full trap against a warrior, you don't even use the moving between ticks thing. You just sit a full 8 drink if you want to be really, really greedy, which is something that I do often. And once your trap's off cooldown, because they're probably going to sit a 15-second trap because you didn't scatter, it's not DR'd. You drop the frost trap at their feet, and it's GG. That's how you play against warrior. That is legitimately just the ideal scenario.
definitely.
Um,
I have been able to find your talent tree for the
okay,
dueling tournament. So it looks like you don't have any points in Savage Strikes, but you go 3
correct.
points into win clip.
I went 3. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So it's 4. That's 4% more chance to get the proc.
Mhm.
It's something I just really, really like. It makes me feel much more confident against rogue and against warrior. Mostly warrior, There's just certain other things that happen with Rogue that make it like a little different, like improve sprint and vanish and stuff. But it's still really really good. Um, but yeah, I know I took counterattack. Improved wing clip is legitimately just another counterattack, and it just feels so good when it procs. I know I'm gonna live. I can literally walk while hamstrung during those 5 seconds, and I can walk into auto shot range, and I can get a multi and an arcane before the warrior intercepts back onto me. So an improved wing clip is just massive. It's just massive.
Definitely.
So after that, I believe I went clever traps 1, and then I went 1 into deterrence. Correct? Or did I go 2
Yes.
clever traps?
It looks like you went 2, but again, you didn't have those 2 in Savage Strikes.
Okay, okay.
Do you want me to remove them here, or you keep them in general? This is like I really like what you're doing. By the way, it's amazing. Just like the breakdown of each talent.
Okay.
With them, would you consider that more for like world PvP, battleground PvP, or
The
dueling?
answer is it depends, dude. It
Yeah,
depends.
yeah.
I can go into all of it, yeah?
Go, dude. Go for it, man.
Okay.
We're going
Okay. So
deep,
yeah.
dude. We're going
All
super
right,
deep.
I'm down. I'm down. So the answer is like legitimately it depends. Clever traps is really really interesting. It actually I believe I've heard this number. I'm not sure. Let me check. It adds 30. It actually adds extra damage to your immolation trap, which there are instances where you use it, but we're not. It's not really. It doesn't ever make it worth using. But obviously, the freezing and the frost trap things are huge. To get really technical, and it's kind of like BS because like heartbeat exists, and heartbeat is something where even when you trap someone, like and it's a full trap, there is a chance that trap breaks after like 5 seconds. There is a chance. It's called we call it a heartbeat tick. I don't know what the technical term for it is, like what it's actually called, but we call it a heartbeat tick. Um, every like 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds there's a check, and there's a chance that you are just about to get destroyed by that warrior who's going to charge you because you were getting greedy and you thought that trap was going to break, and guess what, RNG has decided your fate. This actually one I believe I'm like 99% sure this actually uh makes it less likely to get a very very early heartbeat tick, but also as it says it increases the duration of your freezing trap by 30%. And what that means is it's more eating and drinking. It's more time to sit there and stare at your at your opponent until your cooldowns come back up, which is huge. So a lot of a mistake that hunters make is they'll get a trap, they'll walk away, and they'll get their distance, and it's a full trap. Let's say they didn't scatter. Let's say they nade trapped or they improved wing clip or counterattack trapped something. They got a full trap. They have time. You have time to just sit there, and people will think, okay, well, why would I ever sit there? Like, I can just start destroying this dude. I can aim multi him from 35, 41 yards, however far away you are. Well, the reason is, if you sit there and stare at them for longer, guess what? Your trap can come back up. And so what I do is, right now I have 1 point clever traps, but I take 2 very often. Um, I'll get a freezing trap. I'll get a full trap. I will literally walk to max distance if I think they will still coming at me. If I think they will still come at me. If I think they are stubborn enough to continue trying to fight me instead of running away, which even if they run away, I'm going to conk shot them. I will drop. I will wait 15 seconds. I will drop another freezing trap, and then I will cast my aimed multi. And guess what? They're still not out of the trap. I will break them with my damage. So that's the power of clever traps, and that's why I like it. It gives you more health, more mana, and it lets your trap come back up. Lets it come back up before that trap even breaks. It's just like a security factor. It can let your scatter come back up. It can let just a lot of things come back up. And so what it means is, like, so the issue is, a lot of times I'll see hunters just pump 5 seconds after landing their first trap, and now they won't kill this warrior. They'll break him out of a trap, and the warrior will intercept back onto him, and they'll start just destroying them. Well, guess what? You can't FD trap. You have to wait another 5 to 10 seconds. So that's 5 to 10 seconds where you could just not be taking damage or even regenning like lost HP. It's a really big deal. When you look at it for like the usage of like frost trap, and give a really good example in Warsong Gulch, when there's a stalemate, the role of a hunter usually is to play defense, and you will play at elbow, which is the outdoor area in your own base where you actually go around like that U-turn thing up the ramp, and then you go onto roof. And a hunter will actually drop a frost trap at the bottom of that elbow, and you will just do your best to kite the other team. If you're playing against a really, really sweaty team, they're going to fap, and they're going to like rocket boots or speed boots or something to get up to you. When something like that happens, like the job of your priest is actually like spam dispel those faps so you can start peeling. But against your average team, that team is literally going to stand there and they're going to eat that frost trap for full duration, probably get rooted a whole bunch, and they're just going to be sitting there taking damage, and you're just like pelting them from above or viper seeing them or whatever your team decides to do. And for that specific reason, the longer that trap is up, the better. We were playing like against like Vampire Clan like a couple weeks ago, and what they were doing at first before they started the FAP rocket boot strat was they would walk over, they would actually proc my frost trap, and then they would stand in the doorway line of sight. And what they were doing was they were bullying me. They were waiting, they would proc the frost trap, and they would wait for it to expire before they actually started like pushing. But because they stood just around the corner with their warrior, I couldn't actually like just walk back up and drop another frost trap. So clever traps, if you want to get really technical, a frost trap sitting there in Warsong for an extra 5 seconds could be the 5 seconds that your offense needed to kill their FC before they kill yours. Truly, like it can actually be a huge deal. So having 1 or 2 extra points is just, it's really, really nice. It's really nice in BRM. It's really nice when you're kiting a warrior that just has no outs in open world. It's really nice in Warsong. It's just really, really good. And that paired with the fact that it literally means you get to actually eat more and like recover lost HP in a one-on-one. It makes clever traps like a very good talent to have. I usually have one, at least one. Oftentimes I have two. Again, the only downside to clever traps is when you're using it with freezing trap, it's just not super reliable because of heartbeat, but it at least makes it a little bit more reliable. When you're eating and drinking while someone else is trapped, you are constantly evaluating the risk versus reward of just not opening on them right then and there with like a Viper Sting or an aimed multi combo. Like you're deciding like during the entire duration of that trap, okay, do I want to get up yet? Do I want to start actually doing damage yet, or do I want to keep recovering my health? So, with all that said, yeah, like clever traps, amazing talent, really, really good. I think it's a little underestimated, honestly.
Awesome, for sure.
So then we have survivalist, and
This is the one you want to put 5 points into.
I lost 4 duels in the last phase of the duel tournament tips by 500 HP or less.
Oh
4 of
no.
them.
Yeah.
Zico killed me with like 200 mana left, and it was 130 something overkill. Fizz killed me with 17 overkill. Who else did I lose to? I got wanded by Nazgul, and I had to stand there and I had to stare at him, hoping my mana would regen enough so I could FT trap. I think I had him wing clipped, and maybe I didn't, but he wasn't moving. He was standing there wanding me, and I was sitting there watching my mana like, please, please, please get enough mana so I can FT trap. Because if I got that, I won. If I had 500 HP, I would have been able to take like 3 or 4 more wands. I would have been able to recover the mana I needed and FT trap. No, it wasn't Nazgul. It was Snuts. It was Snuts in one of the rounds, I think. I was standing there staring at him, autoing him, and I think he had sacked his void, so I actually didn't even have to worry about a pet. I had a free trap if I had the mana. If I would have had the 5 points in survivalist instead of 5 points in ranged weapon specialization, I would have been able to stand there and tank the damage and get the FT trap and recover and potentially win. I lost to someone else by 500 or less. I don't remember who, but without like reiterating too much, the reason survivalist is so good is because while you were regenning during a trap, your enemy is not, and in a duel, that is everything. The more traps you get, I would say, the more likely you are to win, and because of that, survivalist is just it's huge. It can literally buy you the 5 seconds, the 10 seconds, the 1 second you need for your FT trap to come back off cooldown. You can tank other people's cooldowns and survive, and just get your trap. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And with the 5 points in it right now, we're currently sitting at 0 points left. So, as a quick reminder, we do have 2 in Savage Strikes right now. Are there any that you move around? Because I know you said you really wanted to
Yes.
pick up Trap Mastery.
Yes. Okay. So, oh, I messed this up, dude.
It's
So
all
let's
good.
see. So we have 3 humanoid slaying, 2 deflection, 5 entrapment, 3 improved wing clip.
We have
Oh wait,
two
did I?
two improvement clip right now.
Okay, 2 improved wing clip. Do we have point? Did you put the points in survivalist?
Yeah, all 5 of them.
Oh, okay, okay. So I didn't do that in the duel tournament, but yeah, I do think it's amazing for dueling specific. Um, oh boy, I messed this up. I'm so sorry.
Dude, no worries. If you
Oh,
like in a world PvP scenario, like less dueling, you probably wouldn't have this, right? Or like a
I
BG
do
scenario.
not.
Yeah, you
Correct.
do
Yeah,
not.
I actually don't take it in BGs
Mm-hmm.
because what happens is like based off the tryhard teams that we faced, Hunter doesn't get focus. Um, I think oftentimes there are situations where it should be focused, but it's not. I find myself in the back line, like peeling for healers, doing like initial bursts to like kill like the guy with Zerker. I'll find myself Viper singing, but I don't find myself focused. I think oftentimes it's the warriors that are focused. Rogues are getting peeled. Ellie shamans are getting focused. Even priests that get caught in bad spots are getting focused, but hunters are just kind of there pelting you. So right now I have 0 points in that.
Okay.
Um, how many? So we have 5 points left.
Yeah.
That's perfect then. Okay. So with those 5 points, um, one goes in deterrence for sure. I think that even without counterattack, deterrence is just great. Like you can pop deterrence right when a warrior starts like their initial charge on you. Um, Even if you proc an overpower, there's still a very good chance that you're going to parry it now. Um, you can dodge basic attacks that would otherwise put crippling poison on you. You can dodge hamstrings. It's just really really good against rogues and warriors. Um, I think in a duel, I I think against a warlock, I actually you can pop deterrence against a pet. So in Hunter versus Hunter, if you're just horrified, like you need to survive, and your deterrence is up, you'll pop it just against the pet, and you'll negate just like a little bit of the damage from them. Against a warlock, you can pop deterrence, the Voidwalker will hit you, or like a Fell Hunter, and you can proc a counterattack. You can walk up to the warlock, you can counterattack them, and feign death and trap in their face. It's huge. So even deterrencing against pets it's really really good in certain situations. It's just a really good talent to have. I think if you're this deep into the survival tree and you don't take it for PvP, you're messing up. Deterrence is a must. And then I think with that we get enough to go into the 4th tier, right?
Yeah.
So I go 1 trap mastery. I actually Here's where I'm lacking. So from what I understand, um, there's always a 1% chance to resist a spell. Trap Mastery takes like some base resist. Without Trap Mastery, I think that like most people have like a 5 or 6% chance to resist, and this drops it down to 1. I believe that's how it works. What I can say is this: in the duel tournament, without Trap Mastery, I would just be horrified. I remember on the beta, we were dueling at level 30 and 40, and I didn't have Trap Mastery, and there were multiple duels where I would actually have 2 traps resist in a single duel. And with this talent, I went through the entire qualifiers, I think, without having a single trap resist. So it's just amazing. Um, Obviously, it's not like I'm dropping the resist chance by 50% or anything, but 5% is it's massive. So I put 1 here, and then I took 3 in sure-footed, and the hit doesn't matter. You usually get the hit you need for PvP, which I think is 5%. You get that usually from your gear on its own. Um, what I take it for is the 15% chance to resist movement and parrying effects. What's going on here is It literally means, and I see it so much on Frost Shocks. An opening Frost Shock from a Shaman in a duel, it's just gonna resist. Like it happens so much, and it's just really, really bad for the Shaman. I just get distance off of it. Against a
So
Mage,
is it just the effect that's resisted, or is it the actual damage as well?
not the damage, just the
Okay.
effect. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So you still take the damage. Um, but again, for Hunter, it manipulating range and just using it to like the best of your ability is massive. When someone can't deny you something like that, when you deny someone the chance to dead zone you by snaring you or rooting you, it's just it's huge, and it can oftentimes be game over. Um, you can legitimately just like resist Frost Novas. Um, the name of the game against the mage is literally just get away, stay away, Viper Sting, survive. With sure-footed, you can, you know, unfortunately, at some point, a mage is probably going to get on top of you and Nova you. With sure-footed, there's legitimately just a 15% extra chance that it's just not going to happen. And after that, you can get your distance again. You can deny them dead zoning you and get back in range and get another Viper off. A lot of the time, what will happen with sure-footed is if a mage will Nova me and he's going to assume that it's not going to resist, I get that extra resist, and I decide right then, like I start just, I'm still probably Kona cold slowed, but I still will actually be able to at least walk uh back into range, like so I can finally get an auto shot, and I'll decide like, hey, do I want a Kong shot here, potentially get a Kong stun, or do I want a Viper Sting or something and drain the mage? It's a really, really big deal. You can resist hamstring, you can resist improved hamstring, you can resist crippling poison. Um, yeah, it's huge. Um, it's one of my favorites for sure. Uh, I don't go this deep and not take sure-footed. I don't think I've played yet without being this deep in survival tree. Honestly, I don't think I've played classic WoW without it. Aside from like the beta where we were stuck at level 30 and 40.
Hmm.
Is that all the talents? Do I have one for counterattack? Can I
You
talk
have
about
one
counterattack?
more. Yeah, one more for
Okay,
counterattack.
perfect. Okay. So then finally, the big one, the big cheese, counterattack. Um, it's another improved wing clip. It's guaranteed, so you know that when you walk into melee range to do this, it's actually gonna proc. Like it's already procced. Um, it's a free trap. It's a full trap. When I get a counterattack trap, it's it's the same thing as a nade trap. It's not a scatter trap. It's not a DR trap. It's a full one, and it just translates to more health for me. Against like if I'm facing like two melee, I'll pop deterrence. I'll counterattack one of them, and then I can start like I can scatter the other one to peel him off me, or I can wing clip him or something, and then I can like strong anti venom to dispel crippling. And what counterattack does here is my counterattack target is now they are going to be the focus of like my multi shot and all that because it's a legitimate peel. It turns a 1v2 or a 1v3 into um, you can take a 1v3 or a 1v2 and turn it into like a 1v2 or 1v1. It's just actually you counterattack someone and you just get away. Um, or again, if it's a 1v1, you just counterattack and you get a free an easy trap. Keeping someone rooted as a hunter is just it's just massive. It's how you dictate fights. It's how you dictate pacing. You negate damage with it. You could counterattack a hunter. Let's say you're facing a hunter and like a rogue or something. You can pop deterrence. You can get your counterattack proc, walk up to a hunter, use it on him, and now you can dead zone that hunter and start fighting the rogue for 5 seconds. It literally takes someone out of the fight. It's amazing. Um, and so that's why I took it for the duel tournament. I took it for rogue and warrior, obviously, and it just keeps you alive so much longer than you would otherwise survive. Um, yeah, it's great. I love it.
Beautiful. And with that, you're at 60 points, pretty much across the board. So it looks like the major objective with these talents is just to pick the talents that keep you alive and keep you at distance. That seems like the most
Correct.
important thing. Like
Absolutely.
what I noticed from you and Bina as well was you guys always tried to play the distance game, staying 40 yards away at all times, rarely ever coming back into range unless you were at like the rim of the duel line. Um,
Correct.
And then just like, depending on which class you're facing, against mana users trying to drain them with Viper Sting,
Yep.
and against warriors trying to pump into them and keep them CC'd pretty much.
Yep. Um, Dueling is definitely it's definitely way different than World PvP for hunters.
Hmm.
Since you're confined to a certain area and you legitimately have to kite in circles, a lot of the time, um, the when you're dueling, you're operating under like the assumption that they are going to catch you. If this person's able to survive your damage or whatever, at some point they're going to get you. You're not going to keep your distance forever because you can't just run in a straight line backwards. So it's kind of like a weakness for. Um, so anything you can do to like just like survive for your next trap is going to just carry harder than anything else. It carries harder than damage in duels because you know that at some point someone's going to connect. You have to do everything in your power to one, deny it, and two, once it does happen, recover from it. So that's why things like roots and snare, like all that stuff is just so good. Actually, one thing that I forgot to mention, another reason counterattack is so good is because you can actually get disarmed, and if counterattack's procced already before you get disarmed, you can still use it. You don't need a weapon. So you can be unarmed and actually use counterattack as long as it has been procced beforehand. You have to proc it by parrying, and you do need a weapon, I'm pretty sure, to get that initial parry. But if you're disarmed afterwards, you can still use it. It's just really good. And I usually I drop true shot for it. I do. I prefer counterattack over true shot. I think one of the most rewarding things in classic is like 1v2s, 1v3s, 1v how 1vx, and the way you make those happen is with counterattack and deterrence and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, like talent selection is so important, and again, like I said, 1v1, 1v2s. As a hunter, giving yourself distance, giving yourself tools that allow you to keep people snared, rooted, and give you the opportunity to kind of get out of range is the name of the game. And obviously, you can do that through talents, but you can also do that through itemization and different pieces that you equip, different trinkets. You talked about rocket boots before. There's so many different items that you can equip as a hunter to kind of give you that distance that you desperately need. And I kind of want to start going to those, Bruce, if you're up for it.
Sure. Yeah.
So what I have opened up here on my page is I believe it's the Wowhead Gear Planner. That's what it's called. And essentially with this gear planner, what you can do is you can pick a class. Let's just say I'm going to go Hunter and I'm going to go Orc because you play an Orc. And it gives you kind of your base character stat sheet, and it has slots open for pretty much every slot that you have, and we can start filling them out. So we don't necessarily have to fill out every single slot. But off the top of your head, if there are just some special items that you think are just super pivotal for hunters and important in duels, world PvP, etc., we can just start going through those right now if you're down. You mentioned rocket boots, for example, so we can just kind of start off with that and see where we go.
Sure.
Rocket boots are an item that you say are pretty important for hunters, yeah, or maybe pretty important against hunters more so.
Yeah. I actually would agree with exactly that. They're probably uh, extremely important again. Um, when you find yourself at the 41-yard range where you know you're eating a conch shot, uh, you know, rocket boots just gets you right on top of that person much faster, and you're denying like multi shots, more viper sting, stuff like that. You're denying the ability to kite. Gap closers are they're pretty few and far between in classic, right? Like in other expansions, more and more like classes gain more and more things over time. Everybody starts getting a stun and like some trinkets dispel everything later on, and all these things, and everybody ends up with a gap closer, and there's like character displacement things like death grip. Um, in classic, that there's not very much of that stuff. Warrior has charge and intercept, and then it's GG. They have rocket helm if they get, I think it's 30 yards away or 35 yards away, stuff like that. But there really aren't too many. Shadow priests don't have a gap closer. Um, a lot of times in like duels or 1v1s against shadow priests, you're just trying to sit at 41 yards, and you're trying to just drain them and survive their shadow word pain ticks. Rocket boots makes things a lot more difficult. It's very, very scary as a hunter when you see someone that's rocket boost and they're running at you, especially if they use rocket boots and they fap. The answer to that is a scatter trap, unfortunately, but you know, the, they're probably going to make some other decision once they're in range to like either refresh out of a pain or like charge you, something like that. Rocket boots are a big, big deal. Um, Actually, something I'm considering doing, and I probably shouldn't say this, but in the next duel tournament, I'm considering matching rocket boots with rocket boots of my own. So if I see a priest that equips, rocket boots in the duel tournament, I'm probably going to put them on myself, and I'm going to I'm going to break tier 1 for this, like my tier 1 bonus, which is 15% extra multi-shot damage, which is massive. It's huge. And I'm actually probably going to break the bonus just to have rocket boots, so that when I see a priest that's completely out of range of me eating viper sting ticks, I want to keep that happening. I do not want that mage get or that priest get anywhere near me, and I will literally use rocket boots myself just to stay away. That's how important staying away sometimes for hunters, and that's how important rocket boots are for other people. So it's like one of the things I'm like super super scared of. I think shaman might use it against me. I think priest might use it against me. Just there's a lot of people might use it against me. It's a very very big deal. Um, Now for hunters using it, I personally don't use it very much. I do when I'm running flags. I do if I am ever playing O, like, but I'm not playing offense very much in like pre-made Warsong. I'm usually playing D. Um, for me, it's about like we said, like just staying away, just doing an even better job of staying away. That's when I'll use them, or when I'm running flags, stuff like that. But yeah, they are a very very strong item in the game. I think they're even used in Burning Crusade in arenas. Uh, that movement speed is just it's a big big deal. It's legitimately a gap closure that can be used on any class, and it's definitely something to be wary of. When I see rocket boost coming at me, I'm thinking in my head, all right, what's next? Like I know I probably can't grenade this guy, so am I conk shotting him? Am I scattering him? Am I accepting my death? Something like that. You need an answer. Yeah, super super scary.
For,
Um,
for sure. You briefly glossed over it. You know, your eight piece that you get from your tier one set. So, hunters are relatively unique. There's a couple of other classes that really benefit from their sets too, but hunters, it feels like a lot more than a lot of other classes. You really
yes.
benefit from your tier set both in PvE and PvP. The 8 out of 8 bonus gives you 15% extra damage for your multi shot and your volley. So when it comes to swapping out pieces, you talked about breaking the set here. Are there any of these sets or any of these pieces, I should say, in the tier one set that you would just never swap out? Like, for example, Giant Stalker's helmet. I'm never taking this off. This is just like perfect in every scenario. Or are there some of these that you swap out depending on situations?
There's actually it's kind of funny. So once I get the high warlord set, there's one piece that I'll retain off of the tier 1. I think I'm gonna wear six or like I'm gonna wear 6 of the PvP set, all 6, which is helmet, shoulders, chest, gloves, legs, boots, and then wear wrist guards of True Flight and Giant Stalker's belt. I'm gonna keep Giant Stalker's belt. That's the one. Um, you actually mostly keep your tier 1. I believe even in BWL, when you're like DPSing, like you don't switch to tier, and oftentimes hunters won't even be allowed to wear full Dragon Stalker if they choose, if they want to, because that debuff, the 8 piece bonus for even like Dragon Stalker it's an exposed armor effect, but it counts as a debuff, and oftentimes it's not worth it to have that debuff slot up. So what you do is you keep your tier 1. You keep your tier 1. The thing is, there's one other item that I think is worth breaking, and that's Spider Belt. So I will actually take that same item that I don't replace when I wear my PvP gear, when I wear my High Warlord set, and I'll keep that, or I'll drop that when I need use. Um, Spider Belt's huge. If someone nets you, it's over. If they get a good net, you're as a hunter, that's your death sentence. And Spider Belt's only it's a 30-minute cooldown. It's rough, but in a dual tournament environment, oftentimes there's 30 minutes between your duel sets anyway. So in that one duel where they have net equipped, what's it called? Gnomish Netomatic Projector, yeah. So when they have net equipped, Um, you absolutely must break your tier 1 for Spider Belt. I I don't think there's any situation where you don't. It's huge. So yeah, you do break tier 1 at some point, and it's legitimately for Spider Belt. Um, even though their net's a 10-minute cooldown, it's not going to come up for the next duel. You trade Spider Belt for it. It's that simple. It like your 8 piece, your multi shot damage doesn't matter when you're just going to die sitting a full root anyway. It's literally just completely irrelevant, and you lose. I mean, you're losing 16 stamina by dropping your Giant Stalker belt, but it just doesn't matter. Like, you need to like get free of that net, and the way you do it is with Spider Belt. Um, that's the one piece that I break right now. Um, once I do break that piece, there's something else I break as a result. But this item is not on its own worth breaking tier 1 for, and it's Sabatons of the Flamewalker. I don't remember the attack power. Let me check. I think it's like 30 attack power, but I know it's 27 stamina.
Yeah, 27
And
stam, 30 attack power.
okay, and like 11 int or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a great piece. It's actually 13 stamina upgrade over Giant Stalker's boots. So the only time I use that in the duel tournament is when I've already broken 8 piece for Spider Belt itself. So I will actually have this in my bags, and if I'm facing pretty much anything, if I see them equip um, trackers or I mean Nenomatic Projector, I equip Spider Belt, and because I have Spider Belt equipped, because I'm not making use of my 8 piece bonus, I now use Sabatons of the Flamewalker over Giant Stalker's boots. That's the only time that I use those, but that extra HP, it just carries a long way. Something else I do, which I don't, it's like a matter of preference. But I personally, for the duel tournament, I use 7 stamina on my boots over movement speed. And I know some people are probably cringing really hard right now, but it actually saved me in 2 duels. It won me 2 duels, and oh god, I hope you can't hear that. My dog's barking, but it also I cannot name a duel where I lost because I didn't have that 7% movement speed increase. So I think it was I don't regret making that trading 7% movement speed for 70 HP. I think it actually paid off. Am I here to say that it's better? The answer is it depends. It's a matter of preference. I think more people will honestly say that they would prefer the movement speed. Distance is key, and like just staying away, staying away from mages, staying away from whomever. But I personally actually legitimately love stamina so much that I actually put 7 stamina on my boots. Um, but yeah, as far as actually breaking set goes, it's just belt and it's boots. And the only reason the boots happen is because I've already broken with the belt, and I can recoup some stamina that I lost by dropping my Giant Stalker belt to begin with.
Beautiful
Um,
breakdown. Beautiful breakdown. So then moving onwards, if the set piece pretty much stays the same, starting with the neck, I guess that's one of the first items that we haven't filled out. You just go with the
I like
Nixit,
this one.
or no, not a
I
Nixie Newton.
don't.
What do you go
Yep.
with?
I know. It's fancy. I go with Eskander's Collar. It's 17 stamina, 1% dodge, 1% crit. That's it. Um, the Onyxia Tooth Pendant is 12 agi, 9 stam, 1 crit, 1 hit. So for me, since I have sure-footed, I actually don't need the hit. I already have enough just from the gloves, just from Giant Stalker's gloves. I already hit 5% with that plus sure-footed. Don't need the hit. And yes, I am dropping 12 agility, but I think the dodge that you gain from that agility is like 0.25%. You're gaining from 12 agility, you're getting like the same-ish crit. And but here I gain 8 stamina, I gain 0.75% dodge, and I keep the 1% crit that's on XT Tooth Pendant. I mean, dude, like, you've seen it, man. Like, someone dodging your first hamstring off of a charge stun is huge because they can actually get distance just from that. You can dodge cheap shot, you can dodge kidney shot, you can orc resist, obviously, but like dodging gouge is huge. Um, I think dodge is honestly kind of undervalued. I really do think so. I love it. It's really, really good. Um, Dodging a special ability, like even dodging an auto attack is big enough, but dodging a special ability is just massive. It can change the course of any fight. I think against Bobka, I actually like dodged his gouge and his kidney shot at one point. It was just like what are you like? It was just super unfortunate, man. And on top of that, I'm gaining 80 HP, which again, I lost one duel to Fizz by like 17, and I got wanded down another one. So just this necklace alone, if you think about it, like could have actually not having this, actually could have lost me, let's say I did win those. I could have lost two. I don't know. I'm confusing myself right now. It's really, really, really good. Dodge is just really, really good. Um, this is what I always use. Actually, the only time I'll use Tooth Pendant is when I go into like a pre-made Warsong Gulch, and I know I'm not going to be focused. That's pretty much it. Or like when I just want to pump, like week 1 of phase 2, when we were all in like a Hillsbrat, you know, doing the whole Terran Mill versus South Shore thing. I put on a Nixia Tooth Pendant and I just pumped and I wanted damage and it was great and all. But when I'm out on my own and like I know that surviving is the name of the game, I go with Eskanders. So I'm just always wearing it pretty much. And I'm actually like so lazy that I'll just literally wear this to raid at this point, which don't do that. Like don't do that, but I do. I love this thing.
Yeah.
Another weird one, which is probably going to make people cringe again, is okay. So first off, I don't have. Can you help me on this one, Tips?
Yeah.
What is the name of that cloak from? It's either Kazakh or Azurgos, but it's 20 stamina and 1% crit.
I think you're talking about Puissant Cape.
Okay, that one. I think that one's hit.
That one's
Is
hit.
it
Yeah,
not?
that's hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Eskander's pelt? It might be Eskander's pelt, dude.
I think you're right. Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Drops off
So
Kazakh.
that is the PvP Biz Cloak, I would say. It's 20 stamina and 1% crit, and I think no other stats, but 1% crit is amazing, 20 stamina, amazing. I don't have that. And I also don't have Cloak of Shroud Mists. Um, what I used for the duel tournament for the longest time was actually, it's called the Stoneskin Gargoyle Cape. It's like, I might be wrong this. I think it's like 7 strength, 8 agility, 14 stam. I used it because agility and stam, amazing. The other option is the Emperor's New Cape, which is 16 agi, 16 stam and 7 agi or something like that. Two very, very good blue cloaks. The first one, the Stoneskin Gargoyle, drops off a rare mob in Undead Strat. It's actually soloable by a hunter. You can solo it. It's kind of hard, but it requires understanding that you can tag the mob, and you can tag the boss, and you can put your pet on him, and get your pet on the aggro table. And what happens is, once your pet attacks him once, you can now pull your pet back. You can feign death, freezing trap the boss, and you will actually drop combat and stay out of combat, and you can eat and drink. You can literally eat and drink while fighting a boss in classic WoW as a hunter. It's awesome. And once the boss breaks, you can put your pet on stay in a different location, and you can like conk shot the boss as he starts running to your pet or something and start hitting him again. Once the boss connects to you, you wing clip him, you kite him, yada yada. Same thing, feign death, eat, drink, recover, kill the boss. So you can actually solo and get this cape. It's really, really good. It's what I used. I soloed to get it. But once this dropped and nobody else needed it, now I use, it's called the Dragon's Blood Cape. It's 116 armor, 9 strength, 22 stam, and it's +5 arcane, fire, and shadow resist. I mostly obviously use it for the stamina. Strength as a hunter doesn't go too long of a way. It just adds a little bit of melee AP. I think it's 1 melee attack power per point of strength, whereas agility gives the same thing actually for a hunter. 1 point of agility will also give one melee attack power. So its strength it's just really not good. It still has its use, but I use it for the stamina, and the resistance is just like a nice little side bonus. It's really, really nice. I put +5 all res on it. Once I get the Eskander's pelt, I will use that, but until then I have the cape, and it just feels really, really good having 220 health from it. I love using it. I have the Stoneskin cape in my bank, but I don't use it anymore. I just really, really, really value stamina. So that's what I use. Preferably, I would have the pelt, but we don't kill world dragons. We're not that dominant, so it's all good.
Yeah, I feel you.
After that, oh man, I have one that's gonna. I'll try and make it quick, but this one, I could go for days on this one. I'm not gonna go to that yet. Once I get to my rings, so again, I'm using full tier 1 and the 2 the neck and the cape that I mentioned. I'm just looking for stamina on rings really. Uh, a huge one, which every hunter I think should have it, especially considering you can farm dire maul. Is Merman Signet. It's 10 strength, 7 agi, 17 stam. Again, it's huge stamina and it's 7 agility. It's just awesome. Um, I used the entire duel tournament. It was the first item I bought off the auction house, I think. The first piece of gear. I think I bought it for like 250 gold. Dude, it's worth more than that. The 17 stamina is just huge. And right now I'm using Don Julio's. That's not allowed in the duel tournament, but it's 11 stam, 1% crit, 1% hit, 16 AP. I'm pretty sure it's BIS for a long time for hunters in PvE. It's
Yeah.
huge. It's just every stat you want. It's a ton of it. It's really really good, and you still get 110 HP on top of it. It's awesome.
And just to
Um,
clarify, the reason why it's banned in the duel tournament has nothing to do with the item itself. It's just
correct. Sorry.
because the duel tournament started in phase one. We're keeping it phase one items. It's just a clarification. But yeah.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
if Don Julio's was allowed, then the people that had champion gear would be allowed, and they would have more stamina, and it would just be rough, and everybody would be forced to like literally be no lifing it ranking right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good rule. It's a necessary rule. Um, so yeah, so once you have Merman and Signet, you're looking for more stamina on another ring, and the answer to that is Band of Flesh. Um, it's a 16 stamina ring. I believe it has 3 agility and 6 strength on it. It has less stats, but you're still just maximizing the stamina. A lot of people were probably thinking like, why not Painweaver Band? I believe Painweaver Band is like 16 AP, 1% crit, 7 stam, and the answer is like, for me personally, man, I really 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 value stamina. Crits are great and all, but in the duel tournament, man, I can't name very many times where I was like, oh my god, like if I just had like 1% more crit, I had it there. Because again, it still comes up to RNG. Crit's great, but um, stamina literally means I get to sit there and mess up more, make more mistakes, still survive, and then just press 2 buttons: feign death and trap. So that's what I was going for. That's what I itemized for. I think it paid off. Um, Pretty much every hunter who was taking rounds was valuing stamina, I think, numero uno. So Band of Flesh, that drops in strat as well. Drops off of like Ramstein, I think, the Gorger towards the end. Pretty hard to farm, unfortunately. That's why I didn't have it, but I wanted it, never got it. So those are just 2 really really big rings that just they give you a little bit of agility on top of the thing that you value most. I think like having those is just even now is just amazing. You're just not behind if you have those 2 rings. A funny one that I actually meme about a lot, which I would love to have, is Heavy Dark Iron Ring. It's a ring with drops off out of Molten Core, and it has 20 stamina and like 60 armor or something like that, and +4 defense or +6 defense. I don't remember the exact numbers. Um, but 20 stamina, huge. I will gladly drop like 3 agi or 7 agi off of Myrmidons or Band of Flesh for 3 more points of stamina. I actually would prefer to do that. The armor is, it's negligible, but it's there. And then what happens with plus defense is I believe Zico in one of his duels was stacking plus defense against, I think, a rogue. And it will actually make you, I think, well, it makes it, there's a chance that you'll like you'll dodge an attack, right? It adds dodge. Am I right in that, Tips? Do you? Or it gives them a chance to miss at least. So it can actually, again, like if they're not like well above the hit cap, plus defense can actually make somebody miss. And again, like if a core ability like misses, it's a very very big deal, and that can turn the tide for sure. Um, do I think the +6 is enough? I'm honestly not sure. You'd be pretty lucky to have that stuff pay off. But again, it's there. One day, I'm sure if I'm wearing Heavy Dark Iron Ring, I don't think I would ever use it in World PvP. I really don't. But I know I would use it against a rogue at least in the duel tournament, maybe even a warrior. Honestly, I mean, I think I died from like 36% HP to 0 against Zetox in a slam, like a slam Mortal Strike combo or something. So yeah, stamina is just huge, and Dark Iron Ring will definitely help. But
Yeah.
yeah, kind of memey, but it's there, and I want it. 100 bit.
Well,
It's not this. That was a joke.
I don't think it's Prot Warrior Abyss. I'm pretty sure it's Feral Druid Abyss.
Is
I don't
it?
think it's Prot Warrior Abyss though. Correct me if I'm wrong. Any Prot Warriors out there? But the reason why is I think at this point you want Band of Ikuria, or at least Fury Prot Abyss. You want Band of Ikuria, and I think both Don Julio's and Quick Strike Ring are better right now for threat tanks, but I could be wrong.
I
Um,
actually forgot about Quick Strike. That is absolutely 100 bits right now, I think.
oh yeah, Quick Strike is definitely up
Yes.
there.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
There's just rings are one that I've been like lacking on. I sorry, excuse me. I definitely forgot that Quick Strike Ring existed. Band of Curia is great too. But yeah, actually Quick Strike Ring is really, really good. It's like an upgraded Painweaver band. And the thing is about Painweaver Band, if I had that, I would be using it over Merman and Signet in probably like World PvP, but especially in Warsong and like when a Wrathy Basing comes out, because crit is just so good in team fights and stuff, and you don't need the stamina. So yeah, Quick Strike Ring is amazing. I would be using it now if I had it. I just don't have it. That's why I have Merman and Signet on. But in the duel tournament again, like I said, I will be going back to stacking stamina. But yeah, crit is just amazing. Quick Strike's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Just wanted to clarify. I don't want people thinking that like, what about Quick Strike? Sorry, I forgot that existed entirely.
No worries at all. So with that, then we just have the trinkets and the weapons pretty much left.
Yes.
Let's go into the weapons first because the trinkets I think are going to be a really
Yeah.
long discussion.
Yep.
So weapons phase one, pretty much Rock Dalar and Lock Dalar. Is there really anything else that's even competitive with those?
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Obviously, Bree is 100 bis. What like Warriors need it. You guys are
No,
also
no.
okay. Bree's 100 bis. So that was a joke. That was a joke, guys. Bree is,
Well,
it might
let's
be.
talk about it. Let's talk about it. I guess in the very, very, very unlikely scenario that your guild has gotten very lucky with Bone Reaver's Edges, and every warrior in your guild or every paladin, whichever classes has it. You think it's Abyss for hunters? Unironically, let's talk
I
about that. Why do you think it's Abyss for hunters?
I don't think it's bis, but I do think there's a scenario where, okay, first off, you got 16 stamina from the thing. You got 310 top end. Locked is I think 278. You have 1% crit, so you're losing only 1% off your Locked, but the chance on hit is your dex ignores 700 of your enemy's armor for 10 seconds. This effect stacks up to 3 times. All I'm saying is there's a situation where it's very, very unlikely, but there is a world where this is actually insanely good for Hunter, and it's where like you go Zerker Hut in your war song, and a rogue comes to like smack you, or like a warrior or something, and you spam wing clip, you stack that chance on hit, and you get 3 procs off your Bree, and then you run up and you multi-shot someone for like 1,000,000,000. Okay, Bree, I understand that. So from what I understand is on private servers, it actually applied to all your ranged weapon damage, but like obviously you have to use melee attacks to proc it first, and that's not an ideal scenario for hunters. It's not hunter bis, but oh my gosh, do I want one to meme on someone really, really hard. Having berserking, having 3 stacks of the Bree buff, and aim multiing somebody, I swear it'll do like 4K aim shot. I swear on cloth. I want it the day that it's available, and nobody else needs it. If that day does ever come, I want it. I'm serious. It is not this though. No.
One day we'll see
One
it
day.
for sure in Brucewayner 7 or something.
I swear, dude. I swear. Okay, to get serious now. Sorry, Lock Dalar is the go-to. The thing about Lock Dalar is I swear people just like top end damage on a melee weapon is actually huge on a hunter. It is. Raptor Strike exists. Like you can Raptor Strikes a mage for 1,000, any cloth thief for 1,000. It's a big deal. 282 top end is legitimately, I think it's comparable to like Spinal Reaper. I think. Let me check.
Spinal's like a 305.
305. Okay. It's close. It's within like 15% top end damage of Spinal Reaper. It's really, really good. You can hit very, very hard with it. And on top of that, you're getting 26 stam, which is 260 health. You're getting a larger mana pool of 15 int. Nature resist, whatever, 2% crit. It's a really, really big deal. This is like the go-to. This is the bread and butter right now for hunters. Someone might be thinking like, hey, what about Brutality Blade Corehound Tooth? Because like apparently down the road it's Brutality Blade Corehound Tooth is going to be like 9 agi, 20 AP from Corehound Tooth. I think it's going to be like 10 stamina or something and like 2% crit. And the answer is like, yeah, dude, that's cool and all, and you'll get 2 single plus 15 agi chance on each of those one-handers as opposed to plus 25 agi on Lockdalar. But when someone eventually closes the gap on you in PvP and you need to Raptor Strike, well, now with Lockdalar, you're Raptor Striking for 1,000 instead of like 700 with a Brutality Blade. So it's a really, really big deal, and it's just really, really good. And when I get Zerker in Warsong, I just immediately swap to Lockdalar. I just immediately swap. It's really, really good. It increases your survivability a ton, and yeah, it's just like a really, really you just feel really strong when you have it equipped for sure. So this is the one that I'm really excited to talk about, and it's the other alternative to Lockdalar, and it's a one-hander with Skull of Impending Doom equipped. And I think right now, I noticed, man, like when you see a hunter, like it feels like every hunter nowadays has Lockdalar equipped. Like everybody has it already, especially on like Fairlina, where everybody's like really, really turbo and try, or a lot of people are at least. That you just see a lot of raiders, a lot of hunters, and just so many of them have Lockdalar equipped, and it just gets kind of like they're just everywhere. Lockdalar is just everywhere, and you can't. It's definitely the best. But I think that there is an item that is actually better in a lot of situations, and it's wearing a one-hander and Skull of Impending Doom. And the reason being, in Classic, your PvP trinket does not dispel everything like it does on retail and like in just later expansions after Classic. In Classic WoW, Insignia of the Horde only dispels for a hunter. It only dispels immobilizing, slowing, and stunning and stun effects. So stuns, things like Frost Nova, and things like Hamstring and Crippling Poison, Frost Shock, Frostbolt. Those slows. What this means is when you're out in the world, or if you're in a 2v2 situation and you need to not get CC'd, there is the moment it happens, you're done. If a rogue blinds you and you don't have like a druid to abolish poison you're eating the blind. You can't batch a strong anti-venom or like an elixir of poison resist. There's nothing you can do. Your only answer is either resist it, like with Ashes of the Wild or something, or Skull of Impending Doom. It's a CC break. So what Skull of Impending Doom does is it's an offhand, and it increases your run speed by 60% for 10 seconds, but deals 100 to 500 damage and drains 100 500 mana every 2 seconds. Once you click the button, once you use your skull, it's going to roll. The game is going to roll the value that you are going to drain from yourself. It's going to be anywhere from 100 to 500. Once it chooses a number, it will drain that number both from your HP pool and your mana pool every 2 seconds, and that number will stay the same throughout the entire duration of your skull. So what's going to happen is you're going to press it, and say it rolls 350. You are now going to lose every 2 seconds both 350 mana and health. Because you take damage during this effect, you can legitimately break yourself out of like polymorphs, blinds, scatter shots, freezing traps. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Oh, intimidating shout even. It's really, really good. So my favorite part of WoW, my favorite part of Hunter, and the reason I played Hunter and I kept playing it in Burning Crusade and Wrath and Kata was because back in the day in Arena, my favorite word to hear was peel. Like my healers would be panicked and they'd be like, "Dude, peel now!" And that they're like, I remember in Wrath there was like 6 buttons I could press then a global, like Roarsack, Intervene, Master's Call, like FD if I needed to. Scatter shot, whatever, like rapid fire, readiness. I could press all these buttons in 1.5 seconds and just start going like fully defensive. Ashes of the Wild or Viper, I could press. When I was peeling, I would press. I guess I'm going too far, but I love hearing the word peel. What what I'm getting at is in world PvP, hunter is just very very easy to take out of a fight. It's extremely easy to take a hunter out of a fight, especially if they don't have a druid with them. Um, Oftentimes you'll hear people say cross CC, and what that means is, like, let's say a rogue's gonna blind me, they'll blind me, and then they'll just someone or the rogue himself will immediately go. If I'm running in the world with a healer, they'll just immediately cheap shot my priest. Or if I'm with a druid, they'll immediately cheap shot my druid. Therefore, the druid cannot break the blind with abolished poison. If you have Skull of Impending Doom equipped, yes, it requires a little bit of prediction and understanding when you're about to get blinded, when you're about to get polyed, although you should know when you're getting polyed. A mage is literally casting an arcane spell in your face, and it's not arcane missiles. Um, Things like that. You can press Skull, and yes, you are being penalized. You are taking damage, and you are losing mana, but you are, in a sense, immune to CC for that time, and you deny like you deny this crowd control on yourself, and you can shut down the other people who are trying to kill your healer. I don't think that you're really playing hunter if you're not playing with Skull. I see very few hunters on my server right now playing with Skull. Like very very few. I swear there's like 5, maybe 10. I run around with Skull equipped every time it's off cooldown. I have Skull and Brutality Blade equipped. Um, you don't see it very often. You see Locked Alar way too much. I think the day will come when people realize the value of it, especially like as a hunter. But it's definitely not one of the easier things to use, but it's also one of the most rewarding things to use. I think if you can play hunter and figure out when to use it, like always have it equipped and just keep trying to start predicting things. And I can get into that later on, like when to use Skull. Um, it's just really really valuable, and it just makes yourself feel so useful because now you can use your whole kit. You can walk onto the rogue that just blinded you because he doesn't realize that you just skulled his blind, and you can FD trap in his face and peel your healer, and now you win, like, a 2v3, a 2v2, 2v4, anything like that. It's just huge. It's 10 seconds of just CC immunity. um Mage has that, but it's ice block. You can cast that after you've already been CC'd. As a hunter, you have to predict it, so it's much harder, but it's just super super rewarding. It's one of my favorite items in the game, and I'm always walking around with it if it's up. Um, I love, yeah, dude, it's such a good feeling, like using Skull and all that stuff. It feels really good. What was
Yeah,
that?
and you had some sick plays during the tournament. I remember you went against Venruki, right? Or no?
Yes, yes.
Did you? I think you sculled one of his sheeps, right?
Um, oh, I think I did it against Zaryu, and then I just ate. I think it was against Zaryu. I don't know if I used Skull against Ven. Maybe I did. But I believe I did one against Zaryu, and unfortunately, I canceled the effect, the buff, the flea buff that you get, into another sheep, into a resheep. The thing was, Zara and I, we dueled like a lot before, and he just knew that I was gonna cancel my skull after the first one. He just resheeped. I should have known he was gonna resheep, but yeah, I ate a resheep off of it. But yeah, definitely, if I have skull equipped, I'm waiting for that poly. And yeah, I definitely wanna skull it. Can I talk about like what that does in like the pacing of a mage versus hunter fight?
Dude, go for it, man.
Okay, okay. So it's so funny, dude, because against like Ven and Zaryu and Zico and a lot of the good mages like Sagu and stuff, it's dude, one of the worst parts about the duel tournament is practicing, because you don't want to sandbag, and well, sometimes people want to sandbag and just kind of be like toxic, and like sandbagging is when you underperform on purpose, when you're like wait, what do you call it, hustling, like you're like hustling, and you're misrepresenting your skill and like your strategies and stuff to benefit you later on. um so you don't want to do that, but you also don't want to tip off the person that you're going to face later on in the duel tournament to like what your strategy is going to be, and you don't want them to learn if you show some like sick strat or like just a new strat. And Zara and I had already dueled, and I had already been practicing skull on him. And then the day came, unfortunately, where we were dueling in the tournament, and he was just ready for me to skull the sheeps. But what it does is the times when a mage is going to there, a good mage will sheep you when the mage is sort of on his back foot. Um, The way a hunter versus mage duel is played is, oh man, I would like to get into this later if it's cool, but I'm not going to go super technical now. But the mage just wants to get on top of you. If you are pelting them with viper stings, with multi shots and stuff like that, and you somehow get ahead on damage and health and just cooldowns, they are going to sheep you. That is when they sheep. That is the only time a mage is going to sheep you, when they need to recover. And they'll sheep you, and then they will hope for a frostbite proc on their on your pet, or like a frostbite proc from their ice armor or whatever it's called, and or else they will nova your pet, and then they will evocate and bandage in your face, or they will eat drink, whatever they can do. That is when a mage will sheep you. That is why Skull is very, very good against Mage. A Skull denies the reset. Yes, you are taxing yourself on health and mana, but you were also breaking out of a sheep. You are putting sheep on DR, and now you are back to just like destroying them because they're already on their back foot. They ain't gonna. You're denying the opportunity to recover. Against Ven and Zico and Zar, if you wear Skull, they don't sheep. And now you're dueling them, and you don't have locked Alar equipped, and you're missing 260 HP, and you're missing 150 mana, and you're missing 1% crit, and now you're just like, well, F, dude. I did a whole duel missing, a bunch of stats, but what can you do? They're just not going to sheep. But it is what it is.
It's still
I
better than the alternative of using luck and getting sheeped, right? It's still minus 260
correct,
HP. It's better than the
correct.
alternative. Yeah.
Yep. So you're playing into mind games, but at the same time, it still is beneficial. Exactly. The other thing you can do with Skull is once you press it originally. Okay, I'll say this right now. If you guys use Skull, you better have a / cancel aura macro ready for it. So when you use Skull, you get a buff on yourself. Let me cast it right now. Pretty sure it's called Flee. It's called Flee. FLEE. It's a 10-second buff on yourself, which means if it's a buff, you can cancel it by literally just going up and right-clicking it. If you right-click it, you completely cancel the effects of it, and you can just mitigate all of the future health and mana loss that you would have incurred like over the course of those 10 seconds. So if you cancel it 1.5 seconds in, believe it or not, you lose nothing. You don't lose health, you don't lose mana. The way it works is you press Skull, and then the first tick of Skull happens 2 seconds after you originally pressed it. So you can actually press Skull and cancel it 1.9 seconds later, and you have no loss, no health, no mana loss whatsoever. What this means is against a mage that won't sheep you unless you if you have Skull equipped. If it really gets tricky, I mean, you can actually Skull for 1.9 seconds and just run away. That's it. It's twice the movement speed increase of Aster the Cheetah. It's a 60% movement speed increase, and you can use it for 1.9 seconds, get a little bit of extra distance, and cancel it before you ever take damage, before you ever get punished for it. It's actually pretty decent. And the first person that suggested that to me was actually Zico. He said he felt it was really good, and we thought about it. Oftentimes in the opener against a mage, they'll just blink on you, and for the dual tournament rules, which is probably the best rules, is we start around 20 to 25 yards away from each other. It's pretty much blink range. If you Skull and conk or something like that, oftentimes you can actually outrange a mage's blink nova in the dual tournament. A lot of the time, the mage will open rank 1 Frostbolt, and that gives you even more time, the duration of the rank 1 Frostbolt cast to get away. You pop Skull, and then you're actually out of range once they blink, and then you can scatter them before they can Nova you or something like that. It's actually really good. Those 1.9 seconds for getting distance against mages. Mages, rogues, warriors, against those two, I'll actually Trinket, Skull for 1.9 seconds, and just get back into range to attack. It saves me a global. I don't have to cast Ash of the Cheetah. I cast a Skull. So now I have a global. So I'll Insignia the Horde, I'll Dispel Hamstring, I will run away from that rogue or warrior, and I don't have to use Ass of the Cheetah, which means I can scatter shot one of them, and I can Skull, get away, and start hitting the other guy. It's really good. It's so good, dude. Skull has so many uses. I swear that if you want to be PvPing, you need Skull. I love it, dude. It's really fun to use. When you roll high, it's painful. It hurts. When you roll 500 health and mana taking from you every 2 seconds, it's definitely unfortunate, but it's a risk versus reward thing. You gotta decide like when you need to cancel it. If you're trying to Skull a scatter and the hunter just hasn't casted it yet, well, guess what? Tough luck, dude. Time to cancel it because you're dead otherwise. You're gonna kill yourself. So It's really fun. It's really fun.
Definitely one of those unique interactive items that are available in vanilla, and over time, I feel in World of Warcraft have kind of, not been a priority for Blizzard in terms of itemization. With that being said, we've gone on for quite a bit of time, Bruce.
Yeah, sorry.
No, dude, it's incredible, and I don't want to rapid fire too much here, but
Okay,
I guess for the ranged weapon, I'm pretty sure for phase one right now, it's
simple.
Rukdalar. Yeah,
Yep.
Rukdalar. Any viable alternatives, or pretty much stays the same the whole time?
Oof. I can talk about a spec real quick. I can
Yeah,
give you a
go
meme.
for it. Go for it.
Okay, okay. There's a spec that so it's going to be accessible once High Warlord comes out, and it involves procking. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I DC from WoW. Okay, it involves procking improved Aspect of the Hawk over and over and over, and using a 1.8 speed High Warlord's recurve and memeing with Arcane Shot. It is a spec, and I will be trying it, and I will be stacking spell power. But other than that, yes, Rokdalar all the way. The very next weapon where I know, dude, I'm doing it. I swear to you, I'm doing it.
Dude, I'm looking
Uh,
forward to the results, man. I want to hear you
oh
talk
yeah,
about it. Yeah.
oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Um, Rokdalar, I think, I think the next highest top end is like 130. Rokdalar has 166 damage at top end. I think there's like Core Martian Rifle or Blaster 130 or 140 maybe, but yeah, nothing comes close to Rokdalar.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, dude, I didn't study much Classic WoW before I started playing again. I don't know like every item or anything like that. I just know that like the hunter how the hunter item progression goes, at least like weapons. I know that after Rokdalar, literally the next one is um I guess the High Warlord crossbow, which is a side grade, that or the gun. I think it's 2.9 speed, 7 stamina, 43.9 DPS. I don't remember the top end like the damage ranges, but it's very similar to Rokdalar to the point where it's almost not. It's like people argue it's just not even worth um, using the High Warlord weapon or like grinding for it. Um, but yeah, you stick with Rokdalar. You want Rokdalar, and after that, it comes BWL, and then you're getting Astrathal. So until then, yeah, you're sticking with this thing.
For sure, for sure. All right. Let's get into one of the more creative sides of the gearing. That's the trinkets.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of different trinkets to use. I think the best way to kind of talk about trinkets is we'll start off with the ones that you use most often, like the ones that you like right now, which ones you have equipped, and then
Maybe.
we can kind of do like a class by class real quick. Like against warriors, typically you want to use like a net, for example. I don't know, I'm just guessing,
Yep. Yep.
stuff like that. So I guess let's start with the most basic, the ones that you kind of have always equipped for PvP.
Okay. I feel this sounds so stupid. So I like yeah, I feel like safest. I feel strongest, but mostly safest
Mm-hmm.
when I have AGM and Insignia of the Horde equipped.
Mm-hmm.
So Insignia again is like it just controls my range, like where I'm at. It denies myself getting dead zoned. It denies eating full kidney shots. It denies It denies like an intercept hamstring from a warrior. It's just really good. If you have Insignia, I pretty much have that equipped. And then AGM is you get it from the Gurubashi Arena. It gives you 1% chance to dodge, which I actually value pretty highly, and it's an on-use 30-minute cooldown, absorbs 750 to 1250 damage in the last 20 seconds. It's purgeable, but it's a shield. I mean, on average, it is 100 stamina. It's really good, and I love stamina. So those are my two go-tos. Um, One of the cool things about AGM is against a warrior, you just pop it right away when they charge you, and since they're hitting into a shield, they can't generate rage. So it actually hurts warriors really badly. Against other things like Shadow Priest and Shaman, well, you better not pop that until they're And when they're you put up rank 1 Viper Sting because it's less mana draining on yourself. It costs 130 mana instead of 206, but at the same time, it still is enough of a mana drain. It's still powerful enough to completely keep a Shaman or a Shadow Priest um, when you once you've put on that rank 1 Viper on a completely Shadow Priest or Shaman, pop your AGM, and now you can auto them to death or something like that. And I've actually won duels like that in the tournament. in exactly that scenario. So it's I think against Toes, he was completely I put rank 1 Viper up. I popped AGM and we'd autoed each other, and I ended up on top. So very very good. AGM is not super accessible. Another one of my favorites, also very not super accessible, unfortunately, is Title Charm.
You were one of the first people,
Yes, I was
probably
a
in the
cool
world,
guy.
yeah, to get
Yep.
Title Charm. You got it like day 2 after launch or something like that.
Yes. It was really funny. My friend fought him. He messaged me. He was like, "Dude, I got Title Charm on Herod," and he was like, "You should go check for it." And I was like, dude, I don't know." And I went, and it was up, and I got it like day 3 of Classic launch. It was nuts. Oh man, I've had Title Charm for Title Charm gang, dude. What up? It's such a good item to have. It's an on use trinket. You get it in Arathi Highlands. Is that what it is, Tips?
Yeah, Arathi Highlands, southwest of, or south, I guess, of the keep, Stormguard Keep in the water. There's like the Nagas. Just there's like a bunch of Naga ship and stuff like that. And Prince Najatar drops it. He's like spawns once every like 1.5 to 2 days or something.
Yes, very hard to get, but very useful. 3 second stun, 15-minute cooldown, but it has a 30-yard range, and it doesn't DR with a. Actually, I'm not gonna say this. I'm not sure what it DRs with. I haven't played with Intimidation since like a long time ago. But I know for rogues it doesn't. I think it doesn't DR with Kidney, but Kidney doesn't DR with anything. So anyway, it's really really good. It's a stun on a hunter. It's a ranged stun on a hunter. So you can just guess how annoying that is.
Mhm.
Um, I really really feel good when I use it. Well, me personally, I like to be really toxic about it and just title charm people for no reason because it just feels good knowing that I've asserted my dominance and that person's still gonna flop anyway, and I didn't even need it. It's just so good, dude. But you can use it on a pally that's healing, because one of the things you hate seeing as a hunter is a paladin that's just spamming heals in the back line. So you can kind of just like creep up and title charm them on a cast and kill someone else. You can ensure full traps because trap doesn't DR with title charm because it's a stun. Um, you can there's just so many things you can do, man. You can literally title charm and then just start casting aimed multi, something like that. Um, as a troll, and my friend Callie is the one who figured this out. There's a macro you can make, and it would be. Do you want me to just like say the macro, or do you want me to like?
If you want, we can hold on to the macro because I've got like a hunter opened up on my WoW screen, and then we can start type. Like I can type them out in game, as we kind of go with it.
Okay, okay,
But I guess we can save that one for later if that's cool. Or you know what? Hold on a
sure,
second.
sure.
Actually, check this out. Check this out. Hold on. I do this and I do this. Okay, I got the screen open right now. So what's the macro?
So it's going to be slash cast exclamation point auto shot. Um, wait, let me check.
All right.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay, so that was correct. And then the next line is slash cast aim shot. And that's it. And so what it does is when you use that in place of your normal aim shot macro, you can actually title charm, auto shot, and while you're still going through the auto shot animation, you will already start casting aim shot. So you get a free auto shot, and then you can multi-shot off and get another auto off. And as a troll with berserking and rapid fire, within a single title charm stun, you can get 3 autos and aimed in a multi. That is the power of title charm on a troll hunter, which I know berserking yada yada, but like it's crazy. I saw Callie doing it. He was testing it. It's wild. It's so much damage. It's so busted. It's one of the strongest trinkets in the game. If you get it, you'll understand. You can do so many things with it. You can deny CC. You can use it as an interrupt, which is usually one of the best ways to use it. If you see a mage polying out of scattershot range, well, guess what? Your title charm ain't 30. It ain't 20-yard range. It's 30, dude. You can title charm a mage that's gonna poly your healer or something. So strong. If I don't have Trinket AGM equipped, I probably have Trinket Title Charm equipped, and then from there it goes into all the other trinkets on usually like a pretty even playing field, depending on the situation. But yeah, huge. I love it.
Let's do rapid fire then. Each class. Druid. You know you're going up against a druid. What do you go to?
Um, I, AGM. And this is gonna sound really, really BM, but if I don't think the druid is soda poppin, Black Hand's Breath for the crit, and if it's soda poppin, it's oh, I don't want to.
If you have
I don't
strats
want
that
to
you don't
say
want
it.
to talk about,
Yeah,
yeah, we can. Yeah,
I'm
no
sorry.
problem. No
I'm
worries, no
sorry.
worries.
You'll see it in the duel tournament because if I face a druid, it's soda poppin, and Tips will see it and he'll call it out.
For
Sorry.
sure.
Black
No
Hand's Breath. We'll
worries.
say Black Hand's Breath. I'm so sorry, dude.
Twitch.tv/Brucewayner on January 11th, and you will see this secret trinket. So make sure you guys tune in.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Another great one against druids is Gnomish Cloaking Device, because against druids you are getting your resets. Against druid, actually, believe it or not, like even if, oh, dude, this is actually a good one to explain because whether it's world PvP or dueling environment, I play against druid the exact same. Actually, that's actually really cool. I think it's the one class that I play against exactly the same. And what I mean by that is, um, being too far from a druid, being 41, detrimental, believe it or not. It's actually bad. And being up in a druid's face, oftentimes not that good. There's like a sweet spot in like the 25 to 8 yard range where you want to be fighting a druid. A lot of druids don't understand that, and I'm very happy when they don't. But a certain druid does understand that, and I cry when he does, and it makes things a lot harder. But what you do is you trap on cooldown. If you're playing against a good druid and you realize he's good and your trap is up, your FD trap is up, and you're not casting it right away, you messed up. I promise you, you messed up. You got to be getting your trap the moment it's up. The moment it's up. The moment you get the trap, guess what? You're feigning, or not? You're not feigning, but you're eating and drinking. You're recovering. If those dots fall, this is where it gets fun. You pop cloaking device, and you just kind of like disappear into the abyss, and then you come out with a aimed multi. Um, because you're maximizing the time that they're sitting in that trap, and when you think they're finally about to break, instead of casting an aim shot and like there's a good chance that the druid's going to break out beforehand and then start moonfire spamming you, you ensure a free one, because they their only option is like, if they break out, is like going in stealth, but you should have them marked. You do hunters mark druids in 1v1s because if they break and then they get a re-stealth, well, you're in trouble. But you have them hunters marked, so you'll see them if they go cat and they prowl, and then you open up with an aim multi out of cloaking device. Another thing you do out of cloaking device is, instead of doing that, you literally just cast freezing trap again. You put one at your feet. The druid won't realize what happened, and then you just multi-shot them and do damage, and you try and bait them into that second trap. But yeah, cloaking device really, really good against druids. Obviously, you need Insect Swarm and Moonfire to fall. Do manage to pull it off, it will absolutely swing the tide of like a fight against druid. It's really, really strong. And again, I can't say it enough. Getting full traps against druid, number one. You're not gonna be able to trap off of improved wing clip because they're gonna shift it. If you can get a nade, amazing. And if you get a full trap, you're looking really, really good. The only time a druid is gonna beat you if they're good. Like if you're good in an evenly matched fight, the druid is gonna beat you using both NS and Innervate. So it's a very long fight, and it's very methodical, very methodical. But if you're able to like execute correctly, you have a very good chance of winning. It's super fun, honestly, super fun fight.
Let's move on to hunters. Against the mirror match, what would you have equipped?
This is a fun one too. Okay, I'll try and make it quicker.
I love how excited you get, dude.
Oh, dude, dude. Classic is just like, the answer is always it depends. That's why it's so cool, like yeah. Against Hunter, there's a couple strategies. One is just completely burst them down, which I mean is always viable. If you're multi-shot crits, well, congratulations, man. You're a god gamer and you beat the other Hunter. Well played, dude. If neither multi-shot crits, there's a different story. If you're at 3k HP, you're serpent stinging pretty much. If you're under geared, you're serpent stinging because one of you is dying quickly. If you're both at 4,600 to 5k, 5,500 plus HP, and both of you have AGM equipped, guess what? It has now become an entirely different fight. It's all about Viper Sting, Viper Sting.
What trinkets would you equip to kind of pair up with that strategy?
Because it's about Viper Sting, HP carries, so AGM or Marker Resolution, and Heart of Noxian. It's a trinket that drops off of Maradon, off of I don't. I think his name must be Noxian. I'm not sure. I think it's Noxian. Noxian, yeah. And it removes one poison effect. That's the use. It's a 5-minute cooldown. The the struggle with this trinket specifically is it's actually on the global cooldown, so it's not super. It doesn't feel great to use, but you use it on a Viper Sting. And so what happens is the way I did the Hunter versus Hunter duel was I feigned death in the very start of the duel to so and my scatter was actually a macro. It was slash tar, coffin luck, slash cast scatter shot. And the reason I made that was in case he feigned the opener, my scatter would still hit him. And then so I scattered him in the opener and I pre-AGM'd, aimed multi, Viper Sting. And what happened was he Viper stung me as well. And after those 2 Viper Stings were up, my next global was Conch Shot, and I was already walking into melee range. As I'm walking into melee range, hunters are obviously, there's a dead zone. And in that time that I was in the dead zone, I used Heart of Nox to dispel my Viper Sting while his kept ticking. So it translated to like 1,000 bonus mana for me. So I had a 1,000 mana advantage on him in the duel, and I won easily. Not easily, but I won because of it. The mana was the difference. Bean did the same thing in the duel tournament against in his hunter mirror. He had the exact same thing, and I remember Bean had like 1,500 mana when the other hunter was and that was the reason he won. So a shield plus hardened Nox. It's amazing. It's amazing. Bean and I we tested like every trinket combo, dude. We were trying like, net. We were trying just raw crit like Black Hand's Breath. Very good. We were trying Bear Off Peasant Collar to use those like if there was a pre-trap. We decided the opener wasn't pre-trap, but not like pre-trap, but trap at duel start. And we were thinking like Gyro Freeze Ice Reflectors. We would pop that and run over the freezing trap just to keep our pet out of the trap, all that stuff. And we settled on a shield plus Hardened Nox.
Then let's go ahead and move on to mages. Against mages, what would you typically use?
There's just one that's by far the most important, and it's your best chance at winning the duel. Gyro Freeze Ice Reflector, Engineering Trinket. The on use is it reflects frost spells back at their caster for 5 seconds. You literally use it on the very first frost bolt. It's that you see a frost bolt, you cast it.
And that's so that you don't get slowed down, so you have time to get distance. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. That's it. That simple. If you somehow forgot to use it, if you potatoed and now you're sitting a full Nova and they're going to cast a full Frostbolt at you, that's when you use it. That actually happened to me in the duel tournament, and I potatoed again actually, and I didn't even reflect that big Frostbolt. But that's what you're supposed to do. You use it on the first Frostbolt. You keep max distance. You deny the Nova, and you survive, and you the mage. That's how you play. Stamina is like numero uno against mages. So yeah, Ice Reflector. I'm trying to think of what my other one was. It might have just been Black Hand's Breath. I'm sure I would have used AGM if I had it. Nifty Stopwatch can be okay because it's 10% movement speed over the 30% from Cheetah. The thing about using Astro the Cheetah against a mage is they are going to try and Fire Blast your Cheetah. And that is why you need to have a certain macro. It is you need to have slash cancel aura after the Cheetah macroed. Should I go into that now, or should I go into that later when we're talking about macros and stuff?
Let's go into a little bit later.
Okay.
But yeah, Nifty Stopwatch. Again, aspect of the cheetah can obviously get you dazed by a mage. We're gonna go a little bit rapid fire here, Bruce. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, no, we're good. We're good. Sorry.
No worries. So, moving on then to priest.
Oh, my combo. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Number one, Shadow Reflector. You either use it on like the very first Shadow of Pain, or you use it on Mind Blast, something like that. It's amazing. It denies, a fully ticking Shadow of Pain just destroys you. Against a priest, 3 casts of Shadow of Pain, you're dead. A Mind Blast crit, you're dead. Even a Mind Blast hits you, you're in serious trouble. Shadow Reflector, huge. You will still to this day catch most priests off guard if you Shadow Reflector right at the end of a Mind Blast. If you see them inner focus especially, it's going to feel really good when you reflect that Mind Blast. So that is number one. Another good one is Glimmering Mithril Insignia, which you get from blacksmithing. It increases armor by 50, all resistances by 10, and grants immunity to fear for 30 seconds. It's dispellable, so you have to use it right before the priest is going to fear. But when you do, say they dispel it, well, guess what? They're now on global for 1.5 seconds, and guess what you get to do? You get to nade trap or Wing Clip Trap or just Feign Trap in their face and get your resets. And against Priests, it's all about resets. Again, resets and recovering, just like Druids. The issue with Shadow Priests is they're going to fear you the moment they get the opportunity because you're spending most of the time trying to max range and Viper Sting. So Mithril Insignia can be very, very good in that regard. I use it usually my second duel against Priest because the first duel I'm trying to use AGM. But yeah.
Awesome. Rogue.
Hardened Nox to dispel crippling poison after you get a freezing trap, and honestly, a lot of the time, net. If you're using net, it's because they're also using net, and you have Spider Belt equipped. So if your net does backfire, you Spider Belt to clear yourself of your own back. Marker Resolution, amazing. I love Marker Resolution. I actually had it. It was on cooldown for me, and I used it just for it. So on top of the 350 to 650 physical damage absorb, the other equip effect is increases your chance to resist. Oh god, increases your chance to resist stun and fear effects by 1%. And so I equipped it just for that 1% stun resist because I had nothing else to wear at the time. But
Yeah.
Hardened Nox, amazing. You use it after a trap. Mark Resolution, amazing. You know, 35 to 65 stamina and a little bit more stun resist. Net can be good. Blackhand's Breath, again, good. Blackhand's Breath is always a good one to default on. Crit's good for sure. Like I said, I don't value it. Uh, I don't know if I evaluate it as highly as some people do, like in 1v1 situations, but it's still very, very good. There is one that a hunter used in the duel tournament, and it actually reduces like physical damage taken by 5, which means that every single time a hunter or like a rogue was like fighting him, every single auto attack from the rogue, like 5 damage was being removed. I don't remember what it was called. Do you remember, Tips? It's from a quest in UBR or in Blackrock Spire.
I know what you're talking about. Let me
Yeah,
see
it's
if I
like
can bring it up real quick.
okay. But I remember it was a it's like a 30-minute cooldown, and what you do is it's an on use. You use it, and I believe you get a 10-minute buff, and the buff is you lose a little bit of agility. I think you might gain some stamina, and you take 5 less damage from attacks. Do you remember? Did you find it?
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it right now.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess it will remain a secret, but it does exist. It comes from Blackrock Spire. Sorry, I just thought of this one. It's definitely a good one versus rogues.
You said a
So,
quest from Blackrock Spire?
yes. Yes.
Okay, maybe I can find it here. But yeah, let's go ahead in the meantime, moving forward to we talked about mage, we talked about rogue, we talked about priest. Let's go into shaman.
Shaman Frost Reflector for the opener, the opening Frost Shock. I really like it for that because it gives me some distance. If sometimes I'll use Blackhand's Breath again. If they have net, I will consider using net. And the only time I use net in duels is when the other person is using net. And if they net and it works perfectly, I'll net and then I'll spider belt my net off, something like that. AGM if I am able to, which against Shaman it's usually a mana battle, so I do have AGM equipped, but I know not everybody has it. I guess a good one would be, I'm looking. Honestly, man, Shaman's a special one because there's not too much I've really found that I really, really like love for it. So I think there was actually a Shaman duel, like I think I dueled Pills, and I actually just used Blackhand's Breath and Royal Seal of Eldrithalas or whatever. It's just 48 ranged AP. Um, a good cloaking device would be good against Shaman because again, like it's not too often they're gonna have you frost shocked or flame shocked. Sometimes they will, but it will definitely give you a aimed multi combo against them, which you might not otherwise get. But yeah, anytime you can pull off a good like AGM against someone that's huge. But for me, I think I was just using Blackhand's Breath and AGM and like Royal Seal.
Got you. Warriors?
Warrior, AGM, Mark Resolution, no question. The moment they charge you, you have to. You, so for the rules, which I agree with, is the warrior gets the opener, so they charge you no matter what. The moment they charge me, I just shield. But here's the thing: a good warrior will realize what you're doing, and like let's say like a lot of the times I will shield in deterrence or something. A good warrior will intimidating shout the moment you pop a big cooldown, like a shield or a deterrence. So what I use against a warrior is a shield and glimmering mithril insignia. And the moment that charge is done, the moment I'm out of that stun, I pop glimmering insignia first. It's a 30-second immunity to fear. They cannot dispel it. They're a warrior, okay? So I am immune to fear, and now I will pop my cooldowns, and I will sit there, and I will play mind games with them, and I will literally match them in melee with Lock Delar, and I will just Raptor Strike them and Wing Clip spam them and proc counter attacks, and I will like whittle them down until they finally feel like, okay, oh my gosh, like he's gonna FD trap now. I'm gonna pop my Ice Reflector because that's what warrior uses against a hunter in a duel. So with Glimmering Mithril Insignia, and with a shield that will deny some of that first damage and deny a warrior range, I can match a warrior in melee for a little bit. Then I can either nade trap or, worst case scenario, scatter trap, something. I can outlive Barov, peasant caller. I can outlive Ice Reflector, and I can get my trap and get distance, and then go throughout my duel like the normal way. Obviously, if you're going to nade trap a warrior, they're gonna berserker rage the nade, but it is what it is. So Mithril Insignia plus shield, I love it. It's super good.
Awesome. And then finally, arguably the most difficult class, Warlocks.
Shadow Reflector is a must. Warlock is not going to use Fell Hunter, so if you have AGM, it's a must. Warlock it's an uphill battle. You're trying to them, and you're trying to survive to dots that are just like rotting you. There's a pet that's going to deny you dropping combat and feign deathing and eating and drinking. For me, the Warlocks had Soul Link, so it was just miserable. I remember I tried the whole scatter pet and then burst, like either the burst kill the Warlock or kill the pet in a burst out of scatter, so he couldn't be sacked. But my pet autoed the Warlock, so it broke Soul Link. It broke the scatter with Soul Link. All this stuff. But my go-to is AGM Shadow Reflector. The safe way to use Shadow Reflector is right at the start of the duel. Just use it. Just use it and deny like the dot ticks. And then see the fancy way of using it is being greedy and trying to reflect Death Coil, which would there are times where even if you reflect Death Coil, it is not as powerful as reflecting like the first two dots if they do dot twice into your Shadow Reflector. But obviously the stylish way to play is by trying to reflect Death Coil. It's really fun and really rewarding when you do it, and I still go for it to this day, but it doesn't happen ton in good Warlocks. I think against a very good player that's smart, you should be looking to reflect like the opener. If I'm not using those, again, Glimmering Mithril Insignia can be good, although oftentimes a Warlock is running around your Frost Trap, or is in an entrapment proc, or is just simply not in range to fear you, and Glimmering Mithril Insignia actually doesn't do too much. When I find a Warlock fearing me, it's them fearing my pet, actually. So it's okay, but its use is definitely limited. There's a trinket that I actually forgot to mention, which I do use against Warlock and Shadow Priest. So I guess I'll just explain who I use it against. It's Warlock, Shadow Priest, Shaman. It's just a really strong trinket. Even against Druid, actually, I'll use it as well. It's Goblin Mortar. Goblin Mortar. It's a stun. It's like a 4-second stun. Let me see. I think I have one right here. Inflicts 383 to 517 fire damage and stuns the target for 3 seconds. It's a trinket. Goblin Engineering. Well, no, any engineer can use it, but I use that as well. Stuns, again, are great for hunters, and I use it against Warlocks specifically. I use it to keep my range and get an extra Viper Sting, like an unanswered Viper Sting, where they can't like get another like dot up or something.
Yeah. Amazing breakdown, Bruce. Thank you so much. Last trinket call I'll ask for is when you're in BGs now. This is obviously dueling 1v1 world PvP when you're matched up against one other class. Yes. The role of a hunter in Warsong Gulch, particularly in Battlegrounds in general, is a little bit different. You're pumping damage. You're going to the Berserker Hut. You're getting the Berserker buff. What would your trinkets be in that situation?
When I have Berserker, I usually go Black Hand's Breath for the 2% crits because I just want to destroy people. And for me personally, Title Charm because I will Title Charm a rogue off of my heel. If you don't have that, I mean, literally when you have Berserking as a hunter and Warsong Gulch, dude, most of the time you're not going to be touched. Just pump. You don't really need like too many defensive things. There's no polymorph reflector in the game. Um, just stack damage. Royal Seal of Eldra Thalas again, just a ton of damage. Um, if you have an Ellie Shaman that's just is going to one shot somebody, then you know that you're going to get a one up on people. So you don't even need to hit your Ellie Shaman's target because they're probably going to be deleted off the face of the earth anyway. Um, Against a team where I actually need to start doing this, I've been considering this. I'm going to start use Major Recombobulator against really strong teams where I think that like a fight will be drawn out at in the opening. So I think like when Arathi Basin comes out, if we're losing because like there's a bunch of cross AC on my healers, I'll use Major Recombobulator and it dispels polymorph on a friendly target. I will literally use Black Hand's Breath and Major Recombobulator, and I will dispel poly on one of my priests, and then my priests will go and dispel everybody else, and our healers will be back in the fight. I think it'll be very, very good in in team fights like that. Um, but yeah, when it comes down to it, in the opening team fight phase, it damage Goblin Mortars, damage Goblin Mortars really, and Recombobulator. When it comes to peeling, so when you're in a stalemate in Warsong, you're gonna want to survive. It's that simple. You want to survive and just harass people, whittle them down, drain mana, slow rogues, flare rogues out, keep your druid up, and for that, I would probably be using a shield trinket like AGM or Marker Resolution, even a net if you know that their FAP's on cooldown or if they're just not going to FAP, something like net would be good. Anything just to keep you alive longer. Oftentimes I'll find myself in the world if I'm just spamming AVs and I have AGMs on cooldown, Title Charms on cooldown, and seeing the Hordes on cooldown, I will usually run Black Hand's Breath and Shadow Reflector, or I'll run Shadow Reflector and Frost Reflector. Anything to keep you in control of your character. Anything to keep your character at 100% movement speed, not death coiled, not feared, and just able to control a fight. It's just anything to keep yourself like just in control of your character, something like that. That is pretty much always what I'm using. Some of those trinkets.
Amazing
And
gear
that,
breakdown.
thank you.
No, I mean, amazing gear breakdown across the board. Thank you so much, Bruce.
Sorry if that was too much, man.
Dude, no such thing as too much, man. Like, I feel like I can play Hunter now. Probably not true, but I feel like I can. You know what I'm saying?
You are God gamer, my dude.
Dude, no, not even close compared to you, brother.
Whatever.
So with that being said, we've talked about talents so far. We've talked about gear, a couple of class by class matchups. Hunter, obviously a very unique class, one of the two pet classes in the game, and Hunter pet mechanics are particularly unique in vanilla. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce. I think I think a lot of the pet stuff kind of got taken out in the game, like mop time or maybe even WAD time, maybe even before. I don't know. But in vanilla, things are pretty unique. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this Hunter pet guide that I found the other day. This is actually a Hunter guide made by Movesy, so shout out to him. But let's talk about Hunter PvP when it comes to pets, pet selection, unique pet abilities, stuff like that. So I've got all of these different pets in front of me. And actually, Bruce, if you want to kind of follow along, see what I'm looking at, I'm going to go ahead and link it to you right here.
Please.
But yeah, just scrolling down to the Hunter pets, we have all the different families and gives you kind of their special abilities as well. So I guess pretty much right off the bat, the pet that I've been seeing most often from you and other top tier hunters is Broken Tooth, which is a level 37 rare spawn in the Badlands.
Correct.
I guess we'll start off. Why do you use that pet? And are there any other pets that you would use in PvP situations, world PvP, Warsong, etc.?
There are definitely other pets that I would use, but I do prefer Broken Tooth. Obviously, like you're making trades when you're trading like pros and cons when you're choosing each. But yeah, I can make it really, really simple with Broken Tooth. The pushback, the pet attacks every 1.0 seconds. The very next fastest pet, I believe, attacks at a 1.2 speed, which means more pushback. That's simple, more pushback. Pushback's amazing against any caster, even against like an aim shot. It just literally forces people. It makes their cast take longer, which means you have more time to like get out of that stun and feign death that aim shot on. it means that you can just pelt a druid while he's trying to do tinkling roots or hibernate your pet, something like that. It's just a very, very big deal. It doesn't mean your pet does more damage over the course of a fight. I think damage compared to attack speed is like just normalized, meaning a pet with 2.0 attack speed is going to do just as much damage as a pet with 1.0 attack speed. The 2.0 pet just hits a little harder, but all in all, it's the same amount of damage. But it's about pushback. The other thing is it's a cat, so it has prowl. The reason prowl is so good is because if you don't have prowl and you start a duel against a druid, they're going to open up with entangling roots on your pet. Congratulations, the druid can now free cast as much as they want, or they're going to hibernate your pet. Sorry, they will hibernate your pet, and there's nothing you can do about it. The only way you're going to break your pet out is if you're spec BM and you have improved men pet, which you're just not going to because you're probably dueling as Mark Survival or something. I don't know. Maybe you have it. I don't. That's why I need cat. Having my pet at the start of a duel in prowl, it denies information on where my pet is, and it means that he is safe from CC. Against a warrior, I will start my pet in prowl away from myself, like 10 yards away, 15 yards away, 20 yards away. And if the warrior intimidating shouts, then I have the option to pull him out of prowl. I will dash him and I will run him to the warrior and break the bandage that he's doing in my face while I'm sitting at full fear. Same thing with rogues. If a rogue saps me and I have my pet in prowl, guess what? Now he has to find my pet and he can't kill it, which is kind of a big deal, especially if you're running Intim Scatter. So there's just a lot of things that prowl is really, really good for. It just keeps your pet in the game. The other option, if you don't have prowl, or if you're not using a cat, let's say you're using Death Maul, which is a 1.2 attack speed wolf that you can get in Burning Steps. It's a very, very good PvP pet as well because you get Furious Owl. Let's say you're using that. The option, the way you work around the whole like not having prowl thing is, say you're Nova'd. You start a duel. Okay, so you start the duel without your pet even out. Your pet's just not out. So the druid opens on you, and then at some point in the fight, maybe when you get your first trap on the druid, that's when you like call your pet. That way you deny the opening like hibernate on your pet or whatever. The trade-off is obviously you have to use a global to call your pet, and at the very beginning of the fight, you're not getting that pushback that you would otherwise have. Typically for a hunter, like they will call their pet once they're sitting in a Frost Nova, and there's just nothing else you can do. Your scatters, if your scatter's on cooldown, your nade's on cooldown, your feigns on cooldown, yada yada yada. Hunters, that's when a hunter will choose to call their pet and then start trying to hopefully get pushback by having their pet attack. Obviously, the shield ice barrier has to be broken, but yeah. So that's why you use cat. The other options, I would say, I was actually considering at one point using, I think it was a bat or an owl. An owl has this thing called Screech, and it lasts 4 seconds. Once you cast it, it's a debuff on your target, and it reduces the melee attack power, I believe, of the target by 100. It might be melee and ranged, but I believe it's melee. Reduces it by 100. So what that means is if a rogue opens on you and you Screech the rogue, now while you're eating, cheap shot, kidney shot, you're actually the rogue is fighting you with 100 less AP. It can be a very, very big deal. Not many people use it, but it's an option. You have Boar, which the only thing you get from Boar is charge, but I haven't tested it personally, and I know I should, and it'll be really fun and rewarding to do. But if you can, in theory, Boar charge a warrior charge. I don't know where the warrior ends up if they still end up on top of you, but what it does is I think it's a 1 second immobilize, and it adds 550 melee attack power to the boar's next attack. So it's a lot of damage for sure, but the reason you use it is to charge a person and keep them in place for 1 second. I will one day start messing with it. Right now I'm using Broken Tooth just because it's just so much pushback, but it's definitely an option. It'll be a fun one when somebody figures out something like really flashy with it, but yeah, it's definitely there. Another big one, Gorilla. The Gorilla's special ability is called Thunder Stomp, and it costs 60 focus. It's a 1 minute cooldown, and it shakes the ground with doing 123 to 141 nature damage to all enemies within 8 yards. If you haven't guessed, it means you can, in theory, Thunder Stomp a Vanish and pull a rogue out of Vanish. That's the flash. That's what you would use that for. That's how you'd get flashy with it. You'd use it against rogues specifically. And if you're in a duel setting, like in a tournament setting, you would actually give the pet armor and stuff, and then play with the gorilla and try and thunder stomp a rogue on his Vanish. I'm looking. Okay, so there's so now we have Wind Serpent, and the benefit to a Wind Serpent is their ability, Lightning Breath, is actually like a ranged ability, and the damage that it does is magic. So its damage is uh, it's better. They're better against high armor targets. Like they're really good against warriors, and I mean there are times where the lightning breath can be a little bit of extra pushback while your pet's novad, or it could, in theory, deny a bandage against a mage while you and the wind serpent are novad, because again lightning breath is a ranged attack. Once it casts that initial lightning breath, though, it has to go into melee range to continue attacking, but it is there. It does have its uses. And again, it's like very good against high armor targets. Then you have Wolf, and if you're going to use Wolf, I think yeah, if you're a min maxer, you're going for Deathmaw. Again, it spawns in Burning Steps. It's like a rare spawn, I think, with like a really large spawn window. It's pretty rough, I believe, but it's a 1.2 attack speed Wolf, so you're still gaining a lot of pushback, but you are losing Prowl. But the trade-off is you get Furious Howl, and what Furious Howl does is it actually it adds 45 to 57 damage to your next physical attack. So it'll literally add, you can cast Furious Howl, and now your next auto shot, your next Raptor Strike, your next multi shot, your next aim shot will gain more damage. If you're a min maxer, you're going to cast it before you use multi shot, because with the Barrage talent in marksmanship, it's an extra 15% damage done by your multi. And again, the 8 out of 8 tier 1 hunter bonus is an extra 15% damage to your multi-shot. So you cast Furious Howl, and then you multi-shot, and that 45% bonus gets that 45 to 57 damage bonus from the Howl gets a little bit more is added to it. That's how you min-max. I think there will be a day where I'm finally using Furious Howl. Right now, this just ain't it. I don't want to camp Deathmaw, like just spamming AV, but it's pretty good. I think it'll be fun for just destroying somebody. And even when you just use it with an aim shot, it'll just be really fun. It'll add 100 damage to an aim shot crit. So big deal for sure.
Big deal
And
for sure. Absolutely. I've been looking something up. I couldn't find it actually, Bruce. I don't know if if you have like a link to something like this, but I know hunters obviously have their pet talent trees in Classic.
yes.
I couldn't find like any kind of hunter pet talent tree calculator. Do you have something like that maybe we could go over, talk about?
I've never had a tree. All we have is I've never used a tree yet. I've never seen one, actually, straight up. I don't know if one exists. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
It's just the beast training in the spellbook. Do you know how that works, right? Or do you know what that is, like what it looks like?
Yeah, like more or less, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really not UI friendly or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have anything you want to talk about when it comes to that stuff for PvP? Is there any?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And actually, I have people ask me this a lot, and people will ask me if I'm so like focused on PvP, why do I have Growl? The way hunter trees work is you get a certain number of points for pets, and you can allocate those points. Certain abilities cost more than others, and you can only choose 4 actually castable abilities, and then you can choose resistances, bonus health, bonus armor. That's how it works. People will ask me, so hunter can only choose 4 castable abilities, and if you choose Prowl and Dash and Claw, you can't choose Bite. Or sorry, you have to choose between Bite or Growl, and I choose Growl over Bite. And the reason why is because in World PvP there will be times where you're gonna try and you're fighting somebody like an EPL, and like a noxious plague bat or something is like aggro to the warrior you're trying to feign death trap. And if you have Growl, you can actually growl the mob off of the guy you're fighting to make sure that mob is now attacking your pet, and he can't break the trap, and you can get a full reset. It's something super fun and rewarding to use. It's definitely like I'm not like it's like a skill thing, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like it's an outplay mechanic, and it feels really good to use. And so you can, with Growl, you can make sure that not necessarily make sure, but you have a much better chance of making sure you get like good traps and stuff. It's really fun. If you do go the Bite Claw route, you're gonna focus starve your pet, which is fine. It means you're doing like a lot of damage and stuff, but I prefer to have Growl for those situations. The other thing you can do is when someone comes at you with Mechanical Dragonling, or what's the other pet trinket tips? Do you remember?
Mithril, Battle Chicken.
Battle Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and whatever else there are, like Bear of Peasant Collar, the skeleton from Ancient Cornerstone Grimoire. You can growl those off of you onto your pet, and then what you do immediately after that is you can pet follow, pet stay, or whatever you want. And what I do is I pet follow, pet stay, because that keeps the mob away from me, and then I can FD trap, get a full trap. I don't get pulled back into combat by that trinket pet or the skeleton hitting my pet, and I can FD drink in their face, even though they put pets on me to deny exactly that, and I can recover. And yeah, my pet's getting hit by a mob, but who cares? Like, it's really, really good. So that's why you use Growl. In the duel tournament, if I didn't have Growl, I would have actually lost a couple duels. So yeah, Growl is huge. Growl, Dash, Claw, and Prowl.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add to that, the talent thing, or you want to move on to macros now?
Sure, sure. For the talent, people are probably like, might be wondering like what resistance is, because that's typically what you want to do. It's just like stacks certain resists. I prefer, and I think a lot of hunters prefer, max arcane resist, max frost resist, and then like rank 2 or 3 shadow, maybe like rank 1 or 2 fire. Nature resist is good because of hibernate and tingling roots, and I think it's Nature's Grasp with the Druid Castle himself. But the big ones again are max arcane, max frost. With max arcane resist and the 5-piece giant stalker bonus, feels really good when a mage will cast like legitimately 3 or 4 polymorphs on my pet, and it just never eats a poly. It just resists every single one. It's huge. I don't really use armor unless I'm doing some PvE stuff. Maybe if I get a warrior in the first round of the duel tournament, I'll stack armor on my pet. You don't really put stamina on your pet. It usually doesn't go a long way for the points that you spend. You usually just stack resistances. But yeah.
There you go, stack resistances, guys, as stated by Brucewayner. Once again, guys, for those that are watching right now, maybe you skipped ahead, maybe you missed the introduction. Bruce is a multi-time rank 1 player. He's currently ranked number 2 in the CDL championships. He will be competing in those championships on January 11th and January 12th. You can watch that stream live on my channel, but more importantly, you can watch it on Bruce's channel if you want to see his POV. Twitch.tv/Brucewayner with an R at the end. I'll leave the links in the description below for sure. But we've been talking for a while, Bruce, and it's time to wrap things up a little bit. Or maybe just open things up depending on how things go. Because I know hunters are in class with, where macros are super important. You got feign death macros, you've got auto shot macros, a bunch of different macros, pet macros, obviously. So in this section, we're basically just going to talk about ability usage and macros. PvP specific, obviously. And if some overlap PvP and PvE, we'll talk about those as well. Order, I guess, and from most important to least important, and I'll leave that discretion up to you. So, yeah, let's start talking about it. Major macros, major abilities that you want to use in PvP.
Okay. There's a few that I use. I might be wrong on terms of order of importance because I might forget some, but I will try. So one of the most important ones, I think, and it's one that I'm going to say it's most important just because people don't realize how good it is, and it's the cancel aura cheetah macro I was talking about earlier. What people don't realize is, so when you cast Aspect of the Cheetah, in the time that you are on global, that 1.5 seconds after, you cannot actually cast it again to remove the buff. So a lot of people don't have this macro, and what will happen is they'll cast Aspect of the Cheetah, and for the next 1.5 seconds, they have it up. They can't remove it if someone's going to fire blast them or hit them or something, and they will get dazed. And what this macro does is it'll make it so regardless, even though you're on that first initial global from casting Aspect, you can still cancel it. And it's do you want me, I guess you'll just link it later, but it's just /cast Aspect of the Cheetah, and right after that on the next line is just /cancel aura Aspect of the Cheetah. What that means is now you can mash that button, and if you press it, the first time you press it, it'll of course give you the Ash of the Cheetah buff, and then the second time it'll just remove the buff. What that means, when you jump in World of Warcraft, you retain the speed that you had when you initially jumped. So if you cast rocket boots and you jump off of a cliff, even if the rocket boots break, or not necessarily break, but even if you remove the buff, you will keep that rocket boot speed, that 60% bonus speed, throughout the entire throughout your entire trajectory. If you jump with Aspect of the Cheetah off a cliff, you can actually cancel Aspect of the Cheetah, and you will travel at that same 30% enhanced movement speed throughout the entire duration of your jump until you actually land and touch ground. So, against mages, right before a duel starts, use this macro, cast Aspect of the Cheetah. They're going to be like, wait, why'd that guy cast Cheetah? The duel starts, they're spamming Fire Blast. You use that macro to cancel Aspect of the Cheetah. Congratulations, like, they just wasted a global, and your very next play is you cast Cheetah again, and now you just start running. And now you've gained a little bit of extra distance. They're now casting Rank 1 Frostbolt because they're like, oh crap, I need to catch this guy. You do your Frost Reflector. Now their only option is to blink, you scatter, and now you've gotten some really, really good distance. You can actually kite bosses with this legitimately. If they melee attack you and you get the swing timer and you understand when their next melee is going to be, you can cast Cheetah, jump, cancel the aura, retain that movement speed through the jump. The boss will hit you one more time. You cast Cheetah after they hit you. You jump, cancel, and you can literally, it's called, I don't know what you call it. You just call it like aspect juggling. I don't, Cheetah juggling, I'm not sure, but you can use it to get distance, whereas you otherwise would never be able to. It's one of my favorite things about Classic Hunter. Like, you can actually kite bosses using this, even if they're not snareable. You can actually kite things that you would not otherwise be able to kite, because in Classic, it's literally just about, movement speed versus movement speed and pathing and stuff like that. It's so, so fun. When I'm like kiting, like you can kite Van in Ultrac Valley, and I'll kite him and he'll get a melee on me or something. And if he's about to stick me, I'll wait for him to melee me once. I'll cast Cheetah. I'll strafe away, jump, cancel it, take the second melee, and now I've gotten so much distance that I'm back to just kiting him again for free. We don't need a warrior. It's just super strong. You can use it against rogues. You can use it against warriors. You can use it against mage, bait the fire blast, and then just ask for the cheat, cast it again, and get away. It's just, the importance of it, I think, is just really, really misunderstood so far. I don't think hunters have picked up on it yet. I think once people start figuring this out, it'll be the skill, like the general skill of like hunters will probably go up like a pretty decent amount once they figure out how to use it. Definitely one of my favorites. Sorry, I know that was the longest one. To get into some of the other ones that are very effective, any sort of pet attack mouse over, so that you don't have to drop your target to have your pet attack something else. So I can be auto-shotting a mage or just pumping a mage, and I see a paladin in the back line healing him. I at least want some pushback on the paladin, so I'll cast dash, and then I will mouse over pet attack to that paladin, and my pet will now be at least stalling some of the heals out. The same thing can be said for like a growl macro. You can just make a slash cast, at mouse, like, or a target equals mouse over growl. Therefore, your pet, you don't need to target the mithril mechanical dragonling that's running at you to growl it. Your pet will just do it, and you can continue targeting the warlock. I think mouse overs are really good for those two specific things. Some people like to use mouse over scatter. I don't use it, but I probably should. Then there is the cheese, which is the slash cast exclamation point auto shot slash cast aim shot macro, and all that does is it gives you it saves you a little bit of extra time. A lot of the time hunters will find themselves, I think a lot of people don't understand that you can actually cast aim shot while you're going through your auto shot animation. So when you're winding up an auto shot, there's like 0.5 seconds where you have to just wait for the animation to go off. You don't have to wait for it to go off. You can start casting aim shot about halfway through. And a macro like that will make your first aim shot, actually, it'll like throw in a bonus auto. It's pretty crazy.
And real quick, for those that are listening right now, a full list of these macros can be found in Bruce's Discord, which I'll link in the description below. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to write them down all on the screen right now as he's going, but the full list will be in Bruce's Discord. We'll put the link in the description. Join his Discord channel. If you have any questions for Bruce, Hunter Theory Crafting, all that stuff, ask Bruce. He knows what he's talking about for sure, and obviously you'll find his PvP macros there. Assuming that's okay with Bruce.
Yep, that's
all right.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, go ahead.
Okay, and then I can actually make the rest really, really quick. I use a nade macro, which is simply slash stop casting slash use iron grenade or throwing grenade, whatever nade you're using. What that means is instead of having to press escape or bind, your cancel or your canceled cast thing, all you have to do is if you're using a nade and you realize you don't want to use it, you just press your nade button again and it just cancels it. I have Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite macro together, so it's literally just slash cast Raptor Strike slash cast Mongoose Bite. They're off the global. It's just a quality of life thing. It saves you a bind. Um, I've never really run into a situation where I regretted having it, but also again, really just not that important. Um, Other than that, I usually, I guess I have one that's just another quality of life thing. But you do need cancel aura shadow reflector and cancel aura flee. So I guess I can get into it, make it really quick. You want to cancel Aura Flee because Flee is the buff you get from Skull of Impending Doom. When you do use Skull of Impending Doom, I mean, very, very rarely do you ever want it to last the full 10 seconds. You want to cancel it at some point. So you do bind cancel Aura Flee, and that way you don't have to like literally right-click the buff in the top right of your screen. That would be pretty rough. Um, slash cancel Aura Shadow Reflector is because against a very, very good priest, when if you open Shadow Reflector in a duel, they will Shadow Word Pain you, max rank. Of course, you will Shadow Reflect that. The very next thing that the Shadow Priest will do is they will dispel the max rank Shadow Word Pain on themselves, and then they will cast a rank 1 Shadow Word Pain into your Shadow Reflector. What that means is the priest is taking very little damage, but they are now immune to traps. So with cancel Aura Shadow Reflector, after you reflect the first Shadow Word Pain, you can cancel that buff so that they can't put a rank 1 Shadow Word Pain on themselves and make themselves immune to CC, and now you can duel as you can proceed to duel normally. I macro it into my Trink Shot because you cannot use Trink Shot in PvP at all, ever. You can only use it on Magmadar, and you can only use it on Chromagus in Classic, I'm pretty sure. So on top of my Trank Shot macro, I have my cancel Aura Shadow Reflector bound. That's it. That's all I have for macros. The other one, I know this is like the big one, and I don't use it personally. Um, it's a Feign Death macro, and so people will use like slash cast Feign Death, slash uh, actually, sorry, that's wrong. It's slash pet passive, slash pet follow, slash stop attack, slash cast feign death. And what that does is it makes sure that once you feign, your pet isn't going to keep you in combat. It makes your pet come back to you. I personally do it all manually, but I know a lot of hunters use a macro like that. And what that means is since you're not in combat, you can obviously get a trap. I don't use it, but it's definitely one of the biggest ones. Um, Other than that, there's like an all-in-one macro. It's like it casts Feign Death while you're in combat, I think, and then when you're out of combat, it casts Freezing Trap. I don't use that either, but it does exist. Um, it can definitely get you that macro, for sure to link. But I do everything manually myself, and I don't really macro my pet into any of my abilities. I do it all like myself. Um, like I have pet attack literally macro to or bound to shift W, follow is shift Q, stay is shift A. So I don't really have to move my hand very far to micro on my pet, and that's the way I like to play, and I don't regret it. So
It's gotten you a couple of rank 1 titles, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I really like handling my pet in Wrath. Not gonna lie, so fun, dude. I can't wait.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, hopefully Classic Wrath down the line. In the meantime, though, Classic is upon us. We are playing it each and every day. Brucewayner has been ranking every day. He's on that quest to High Warlord. Oh, man. How you feeling, by the way?
Oh, dude, today I didn't want to talk to anybody. Dude, I'm not even doing like half the hours Guzu is, and I want to cry. Some days I'm really, really happy. Some days I'm like today I'm on edge. I don't want to talk. Um, Things were just rough this morning for sure. Some days I consider just not ranking that whole thing. I'm going through it all for sure, but it's actually an experience. And one of the best parts about it for me is when we go into that bracket Discord, and I realize that other people are like even more insane than me, and they're more miserable, and I take a lot of pleasure in that. So it feels really good and it's really fun. I mean that sincerely, dude.
Like, well, there you go. That's why they call him the Dark Knight. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But Bruce, man, thank you so much for coming on today. Just you just dove so deep. This is one of our best deep dives by far, I think.
Really? I
I'm
could.
not even
Okay. I was
kidding,
trying to. Yeah. Yeah.
dude.
Okay. I'm glad. I was worried.
Dude, no, and the best part about it is I know you could go for so much
Yeah.
longer and so much
Yeah. I was.
deeper.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
dude, no, that's amazing. And I'm sure there's so many players out there, hunter players out there that want to hear more from you and have so many things to ask you. Normally when we do these, we do them live on Twitch. This one's being done off Twitch right now, off stream, so we don't really have a Q&A section. So I think a great idea for everybody that has any questions for Bruce, I'll say it again, join his Discord channel. I'll link it in the description below. I wanted to do a tips and tricks section as well right now, but we're a little bit short on time. Bruce will answer all of your questions. He'll give you the tips. He'll give you the tricks. He'll give you the macros, ability usage, any hunter PvP question you guys have. Believe me, this is the guy to ask. He plays out of his mind. I've dueled him a couple times. Dude, he's on another freaking level. Definitely check out his Discord. And obviously, check him out live. That's probably the best way to catch him is to get immediate feedback on his Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Brucewayner. He'll be competing in the CDL Championships on January 11th and January 12th. He'll be streaming his POV. And in a couple of days from now, on January 8th, he will have his bracket draw. So we'll see exactly who's going to be facing in round one. Bruce, who do you want to be facing? I guess which class do you want to be facing the most in round one?
Dude, the people that weren't scary now have TOEP and are scary. I mean, every single class is horrifying to me. I it's sad when I'll be happy if I see a Shadow Priest.
Mm-hmm.
I will actually be. I think I'll be happy if I see Shadow Priest, and I still think that's horrifying. Um, if the warrior that I was gonna face wasn't gonna be Zetox, I would probably be, a little happier. If the rogue wasn't Peo, we'll see. We'll see. I think Shadow Priest, truly. If Chance gets toe up, I cry. So that's gonna be miserable, and dueling him is miserable to begin with. It's gonna be Shadow Priest.
Well, best of luck to you, man. Hopefully, the cards of fortune are in your favor, and looking forward to seeing how you perform, man. It's always a pleasure to cast your games.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Seriously, it's so kind of you, and you always have my back. And I like seriously, man. I appreciate it. I really
Dude,
do. I hope I can put on a show. Seriously,
you
I will be practicing. I will show up. I hope. I do hope the draw goes well for me, and I hope I can at least. This time I'll have my survivalist talents, and I'll have more HP, and I'll have more leeway to just really like hopefully do what I want to do, what I need to do in the duels. I'm actually really excited, man.
excited to see you play, man. Once again, guys, last time, twitch.tv/Brucewayner. It's in the description. His Discord's in the description. All the links in the description below, obviously. Thank you again, Bruce. Amazing deep dive. Before we go, any final shout outs? Anything you want to shout out that I missed something? YouTube channel, maybe Twitter, something like that?
No YouTuber, Twitter, maybe a YouTuber in the future. When Brucewayner 1 comes out, gonna be huge, gonna be crazy. I got some sweet videos. Actually, I actually did. I'm a poner, dude. Believe it or not. Shout out to the safe space. Shout out to the boys. I would not be here if it was for any of you guys, for real. So yeah, I mean, I'd have quit a long time ago, probably, honestly. But having just a sick group of friends really like carries, right? So yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for the kind words and shout out to the safe space indeed. Guys, we got more PvP deep dives coming your way, hopefully before the CDL Championship, so you guys can check them out there. Then see all of the competitors compete in the Dueling tournament on January 11th. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. If you liked what you saw, sub it up and stick around because we got more coming. For more classic WoW content, news, and updates, you can catch me out live on Twitch as well. Links are in the description. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how Bruce does. So I'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, tips out, baby. Take care.